podcast. Waiting on my buddy Joseph Hooks. Turn this down a second. All right, let's see. Let's get some people in here. All right, let me. Why does it always do that? Edit audience. Friends. That's so stupid. Now. All right. What up, everybody? How y'all doing? How's everybody doing? Waiting on my buddy Joseph Hooks to get in here. We got a cool show tonight. Booyah. And we had one person and they left just like that. That's just great. Oh, you know what? I forgot to hit the delete comment. Let's see. Delete comment. Let me go to banners here. Banner. I don't know why I didn't hit copy and paste on that. I was so stupid. How's everybody doing? Y'all share this live out. Copy. And boom. Hey, Erica. Highlight Erica's comment there. All right, I'm posting a video to my YouTube. Paste. All right, I still got some more videos to post. I'm slacking. I should have had them posted way before now. But oh yeah, there we go. All right, so there's a video. It's a video of from Jesus in the Park. I got that video of J Truth and Redeemed. Shout out to Josh Richards and Jonathan Teague there. They were performing. This is a 2-song video I got. And when they get done with the first song on this video here, they shout me out in my ministry. Hey, shout out to Jared Hudson with Cooners Outdoors Ministries. And I was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. So that's very cool. And you'll have to watch it. I'm not going to give away what all he said, but that's part of it. And but he does it on the uh, on the video, so y'all go watch that. It's scrolling at the bottom also, and it's at the there it is highlighted. And I'm just waiting on my buddy Joseph Hooks to get in here. We're gonna be playing some music, taking prayer requests. Well, I'm doing dang near Skippy. How you doing, Erica? We're gonna be taking some prayer requests and playing some music. So I'm just waiting on Joseph to see if he can get in here as a guest. I hope he can. He's going to try it from his laptop. Hey, we got 3 people in here. Thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. uh, let's see. Let's see. Joseph's having technical difficulties. Well, we had 3. Now up. Now we're back 2. Up. Back to 1. Man, I wish we could get 10 people in here one night. I have gotten over 10 one night. That was amazing. I've been doing this for 80 something episodes, and all I've ever been able to do is less than 20 people. I'm thankful I get that. I'm thankful I get the ones we've been having. So, uh, let's see. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna play some music till he gets in here. So we're gonna play some music from some of the artists that performed at Jesus in the Park. I'm gonna play some J Truth and let's see, let me find it. J Truth and Redeemed. So let me go in here. Let's see. Here we go. This is Off the Block. They made a music video. Go watch the music video for Off the Block. This is one of their new songs. It's not the newest one, but it's one of the new ones. And go watch the music video. But this is called Off the Block. Let me know what you think of this song. Shout out to our boys that found of hope, humble impression, sold out street ministry. Can I get a Jesus? Where you at, Redeem? I'ma pray for all my homie who's still on the block. With it from probation, toting Glocks, trying to dodge the cops. I'ma pray in Jesus' name, every chain you got dropped. Jesus left the 99 to find the one who left the flocks. I'ma pray for all my homies who's still on the block. Running from probation, toting clocks, trying to dodge cops. I'ma pray in Jesus' name, every chain you got drops. Jesus left the 99 to find the one who left the flocks. I done seen some things that only Jesus heard me talk about. I gave it all to God, I took his yoke, I laid them burdens down. Last call for prayer call, that's when I hit the ground. Guess what, I made it out, I'm in the book of life now. Shout out to City Boy, I'm in the City Boy, did it for me, then he'll do it for you. Stop doubting yourself and believe in yourself, get your self-esteem back, I believe in it too. I repented from every sin that I committed, I asked for forgiveness and God made me new. Every chain that I had, God broke them loose. Every addiction I had, I done gave it to boo. I know how it feels to let the ones down that is close to you. You fight with everything you got, but still temptation urges you. The devil came to steal your soul, destroy your life and murder you. Crucify your flesh, pick up your cross and watch God work in you. I'ma pray for all my homie who's still on the block. With it from probation, toting Glocks, trying to dodge the cops. I'ma pray in Jesus' name, every chain you got dropped. Jesus left the 99 to find the one who left the flocks. I'ma pray for all my homies who's still on the block. Running from probation, toting clocks, trying to dodge cops. I'ma pray in Jesus' name, every chain you got drops. Jesus left the 99 to find the one who left the flocks. White knuckles, fingers locked, pray away the pain. For all the people I done lost that couldn't shake the shame. A beautiful spirit gone too soon upon any enemy's game. I'ma do right now what I should've done then, lift you up in Jesus' name. And I remember them nights we was too turned up, still out there putting in work. Yeah, we was working for the devil, he was working against us, trying to put us both in the dirt. We was too far gone, we were both in the struggle, blinded, couldn't see the truth. They say the blind can't lead the blind, but that's a lie, cause I was leading you in the wrong way to the wrong place, and I lived with that and it hurt too. They quit on sex, I called on God and I found my breakthrough. And I don't want nobody else to ever feel this pain. Break the cycle, turn to Christ, and let him change your name. Redeem. I'ma pray for all my homie who's still on the block. With it from probation, toting Glocks, trying to dodge the cops. I'ma pray in Jesus' name, every chain you got dropped. Jesus left the 99 to find the one who left the flocks. I'ma pray for all my homies who's still on the block. Running from probation, toting clocks, trying to dodge cops. I'ma pray in Jesus' name, every chain you got drops. Jesus left the 99 to find the one who left the flocks. Hey, Mom. All right, so that is Redeemed and J Truth with the song Off the Block. Joseph's trying to get his phone to work and his laptop so he can come on as a guest. It's been working every other time he's come on. I don't know why it's doing it now. What's everybody doing? What's everybody up to? I can't wait to get Joseph in here. I got a super, super awesome guest for next week. I am super, super fired up about my guest next week. I have, um, oh shoot, he's got Devin Williams. he has a song called "The Riverside," and if you listen to Christian radio at all, or Christian rock music, you've probably heard his song "The Riverside." It's amazing, and he is my guest for next week. There he is. You
Hello, Mr. Jerry.
got it working, I see.
Well, I had to go on my phone. I think I'm gonna have to bring this laptop next time I see you, and you show me how to get on it through it. I mean,
Okay.
I can't figure it out.
Yeah.
I went
Yeah.
into the thing.
Did you?
Like,
So
go
did you
ahead.
copy and paste? Did you copy and paste it to your web browser?
No, I sure didn't.
Try that. Try
You
that on your
want?
laptop. Yeah, try that on your laptop. Copy the link I sent you and paste it on your web browser on your laptop.
No. Okay. I, my wife, my secretary of a wife over there doing it.
Okay, cool. Whoa, that's loud. Okay. All right, let me share this out to some people. Uh, we got 3 people watching. Everybody share this live. The more shares, the better. How many shares can we get? Man, if we can get 30 shares, I will shake your hand. All right, let's see. Let's see. Ah, excuse me, moi. Uh, excuse me. Sorry. All right, I'm gonna share this out to everybody. Let's see. All right, how's everybody doing? Oh, we got 4 people in here. I can't believe we have 4 people in here. Man, we Cadillac and we got 4 people in here. I can't believe that.
Maybe we
All
get
right,
some
let's see.
more. I got some friends. I got a friend, the guy and his wife that was buying this the Iron Horse Lake model from me. You know, they was at they come to the concert. They was the ones sitting over there beside us,
Oh,
and
cool.
they was gonna try to watch. I don't know. Maybe they'll get on there.
Man, that'd be awesome. Hey, Josh Klein, how you doing? So Josh Klein was at the show. I don't know if you got to meet him or not, but he was at the show. Shout out to my
I
boy Josh Klein. Hey, look at there.
Can you see me?
Yes.
There you go.
all right.
Yeah, yeah. Try that. Try
Now we're
that,
good.
and then you can use your phone to listen to the music from the Facebook app.
All righty.
Sweet, we Cadillacing now. How you doing, Josh?
You want that done?
I guess you can leave out of it. You got this one working, unless you want to join in with us.
I got to go to bed.
I tried getting her to stay.
I
That's
got
all
to get
right.
up at 2 o'clock.
She got to get up at 2 o'clock in the mornings.
Oh, she like me. She busier than a one-armed trombone player.
You know she works down there at DCI in Evergreen at the
Oh,
Dallas
cool.
clinic.
Okay. At the what clinic?
The dialysis clinic.
Oh, okay. Cool, cool. Yeah, I probably know where that's at because I used to live in Evergreen for a little bit. See, Josh says doing good, and you, man, I'm doing dang near Skippy. And I tell you what, Josh can tell you, Jesus in the Park was great. We had a bunch of sponsors. I don't have the sponsor list. I'm gonna try to name off at least some of the sponsors, and I know I'm gonna forget some. And so if somebody gets mad, then sorry, I'll just have to get the list from Chastity. But we had uh, some of our big sponsors, like oh gosh, we had let's see, Perdido Trucking. Shout out to Perdido Trucking. That's who Cliff drives for. The owner and his son, and then uh, the company donated itself. So shout out to Burdito Trucking. They were really, really huge in helping us. And then Pastor Roy McGee over at Fountain of Hope Ministries. I actually got to meet. Yeah, it was awesome, Josh. I got to meet Pastor Roy. I finally got to meet him. I've always heard these guys talk about him. Well, he had his booth over there, the Fountain of Hope Ministries, and you may have seen it. It was right by the stage.
Yeah.
And I finally got to meet him. He was a huge sponsor. So shout out to Pastor Roy McGee there. And I had a pretty good conversation with him. I enjoyed it. He was really cool. And his ministry, Fountain of Hope Ministries, y'all can go on Facebook and look up Fountain of Hope Ministries. They have a website too. And let's see, we had on the Hill Garden and Market right up the road here from where I live. They do shout out to Tommy and Valerie. They do pizzas. They do ice cream. They have Noble Roman's Pizza, the best around here. They have the best ice cream I've ever had in my life, which is Cammy's Old Dutch ice cream. It's actually made in Mobile, so that's cool to have a local brand ice cream around here. And then Gift Gallery, Miss Sharon up there at the Gift Gallery. We had a bunch of others. Oh, let's see, trying to think. Thomasville Feed and Seed, G&D Outdoors. G&D Outdoors was huge, man. Shout out to Adam Anderson, the manager at G&D Outdoors in Grove Hill. That guy's awesome, man. Shout out to Adam and Dalton Smith there. They donated some door prizes from G&D Outdoors. They donated the nice fishing rod we gave away, the B&M crappie pole, and then that was awesome. And then shout out to Mr. Ralph at Broke Man's Mart down there. He was another awesome sponsor. Go down to Broke Man's Mart on the other end of town. You can look him up on Facebook. But Mr. Ralph donated 3 Craftsman socket sets, which were awesome. Chrome socket sets, and Craftsman got a lifetime warranty, so that was good for the car show winners. And G&D also had a T-shirt and a G&D Outdoors hat. Worked out great. And then let's see. Oh shoot, go by Thomasville Feed and Seed for all your feed and seed needs. Bradley Glass in Jackson. Bradley Glass was another one. Bradley Glass donated. So if you need any kind of glass work, go down to Jackson, Alabama. Bradley Glass down there and tell them that we sent you. Me and Cliff were by there the day the owner of Bradley Glass donated. I can't think of his name. Super nice guy. They're Christians. So shout out to them. And that was, oh, who knows? Let's see. General Sheet Metal, I think, donated. It's too many sponsors to list. And I know I'm going to forget. But I think next year will be even bigger. More people will see how awesome this was. And they'll say, wow, maybe I should have went to this. Or maybe next year we're going to go. And then I got to give a shout out to all the car show judges. I got to give a shout out to Tracy Newton, Thorne Lear, and then this guy right here, Joseph, was come all the way from Georgiana to the
Yeah.
show to be a judge. So that was cool. And and then a huge shout out to Gina Bradley. And I know she may not be a spotlight person, which I never have really been either. But she deserves her flowers because she helped me with that car show. And I told her straight up, if it hadn't been for you, that car show would have failed. So shout out to Gina Bradley. Let's see, my mom and dad helped. There was so many people that helped. Shout out to all the vendors. TH Station, which Joseph told me, he said, hey, you need to go by that TH Station and get some food, man. And I'm telling you, that was the best vendor
Yes,
food I've
sir.
ever had in my life.
Man, it was good.
Like they didn't even have grilled chicken on the menu, grilled chicken tenders, but I can't have fried food because I got diabetes. I'm trying to lose weight. So I asked the lady, as a nice, real super nice black lady and her husband, I can't remember her name, saved my life. But I asked her, I said, hey, can you do grilled chicken tenders? She said, yeah, I believe I can. I said, okay. And them things were the best I've had in quite a while. And then she did them French fries. They were seasoned, crinkle cut French fries with the orange, whatever kind of seasoning she put on it. Wow. And I got all that and a Gatorade for like 15 bucks or whatever it was. I was like, man, that's a pretty good deal right there. All that. And I had her rolling and laughing with some jokes. And And I told her, I said, you come back next year. And then shout out to James Bradley. I think it James whatever James. Anyways, James has the. And I'm sorry, I talk to him all the time. I forgot his last name, but they had the Cactus Shack. It's him and his daughter. They have the Cactus Shack. And I got so busy and so tied up with the car show stuff, my stupid self didn't even go over there and speak to him. But shout out to him and his daughter. They have the lemonade booth, and then they have the shaved ice, which is he says the shaved ice is better than a snow cone. So that was cool that he came, and him and his daughter they made a killing, I'm sure. And then let's see, Fountain of Hope Ministries. There was Abundant Life Church, which is Cliff's Church in Jackson. They had a booth. Big Steppers Barbecue came later, so shout out to them. They're from Grove Hill. They're really nice people. They showed up and served barbecue later, sold barbecue. And then shout out to my friend Roderick at Rod Snow. You can look up Rod Snow on Facebook. Roderick showed up late. He went to the barbecue competition in Camden that morning, and then he came down for our show, and he sold a bunch of snow cones later. And then shout out to Emily at M's Gyms. She's the one that had the cakes and stuff right across from me. And she had a pound cake, and she was selling $1 a slice on the pound cake. She had cookies, she had all kind of stuff. That is by far the best pound cake I've ever had in my life. Like it was so good, it made me want to slap my whole family and my cousins. And I let her know it too. And her sister was with her, and her sister had the paintings right there that she was selling the paintings. Very impressive artwork. So that was cool. I shouted them out, told them thank you a bunch of times, and everybody kept buying cakes and stuff from them. And then I saw Miss Marie Gates over there with the organization that she works for, and I can't think of the name of the organization. And I went to go speak to her, and she was already leaving when I went to go speak to her. But shout out to her and the organization she works for. I can't remember. And there was maybe one other booth. Beside, no, I take that back. It was two more. It was another booth had some cakes and stuff. I don't remember who they were. And then I got to give a shout out to Trapped in the Addict with Miss Kim. I finally got to meet her. I've been talking to her on Facebook for a while. But she had, so Trapped in the Attic, for those that don't know who they are, look them up on Facebook. They have a website. They come all the way from Georgia. So shout out to Jimmy Hunt, the artist that performed, goes by Vertical. He's the one that recommended them. And their ministry, what it is anybody that's been through addiction, whether it's alcohol addiction, drug addiction, whatever. And if they've been through addiction and they go through hey, Mike Weissmer, how you doing? Shout out to Mike Weissmer. He came. Mike came through there. Shout out Mike, man. Thank you. Mike drove over 2 hours come, so that's awesome. Um, but Trapped in the Addict is like if you've been to an addiction program and it's anywhere from 6 months to a year, and you graduate from that program, regardless of whatever kind of addiction it is, they provide free housing for you. Hey, Trisha Akins, they provide free housing for you, and they tell you about Jesus.
Okay.
So that was cool. And anything. So, what did you think of the event?
Oh man, I love it. I mean, we enjoyed it. We had ourselves a ball. Like you said, the food. I mean, the food was good. Getting to see the cars and just like listening to the music, man. Just since you put me on Redeem, I mean, I'm a big Redeem fan. My wife fusses at me because every time I get in the vehicle, she's like, "Well, don't play that song. I don't want to. You done heard it. Heard you can sing it word for word." She'll let me play it one time, and then it's got to find something else. And she told me on the way down there because I hooked my Bluetooth to the phone and to the car, and she said, "No, you can't play all them people now. I don't want to be burnt out on them down there." I said, "All right." So we kind of, a variety of them on the way down there.
Yeah,
To be honest, that was my first time ever hearing Jimmy Hunt. And I mean, I thought he was awesome, man. I mean, he gets done singing, he come out there and just talk to us, and I mean, just that's one thing I love about it. Most concerts you go to like that, when you get done, or when one gets done singing, oh, I got to go, I got to go. But no, not them. I
Look what
mean,
Dougie says.
I know. I think he needs to sing it now. No, that's one thing I
and you
can't sing.
and you know Mike Washmer there. So Mike Washmer put he's still sore. So y'all keep Mike in your prayers. So he came up to our event. He drove over 2 hours from Florida. Came to our event. Well, the other day he got T-boned in a wreck. It wasn't his fault. He was turning. I believe that's right. He can tell you. He was turning and he got hit. Or somebody turned when they shouldn't have and hit him. And he sent me some pictures and it destroyed his F-150.
Mm.
Like totaled it.
Oh,
So
that's
hope.
yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine how rough that is. And I hope you find you a ride to work, Mike, because that's horrible hearing about that, seeing your truck totaled. And hopefully you'll have your ride. I think insurance is going to cover it, thank goodness. So hopefully he'll have a ride for the next race. For those that don't know, he's a flag man at Tri County. He's the wildest flag man in the business. I've seen a lot of flag men. Him and Ernie Parker at Hattiesburg are the two best flag men I've ever seen. Ernie Parker gets really good, and then Mike's the Ric Flair of flag man. He's a big Ric Flair fan, and he gets up there on, and you've seen him. He'll get up
Yeah,
there with his
he
double
just comes
flags
out
and he'll
there
start
covering.
dancing.
Woo!
Yes, and one night, I kid you not, Mike was dancing up there in the flag stand during a race. All I seen was that flag go flying. That flag went flying and landed on the ground. I said, he done lost his flag. that
Uh,
that was funny. But and Mike, he gets. I'm sure the people in the audience are laughing. I bust out laughing every time he starts doing his little Ric Flair dance.
yeah, we hoping to have my car there for long. You know, we getting it done, slowly but surely. I run into a little bit of problems on it. We got them straightened out. And trying to get it finished up. Yeah,
That's great.
hopefully we'll
Well,
have it there eventually.
I tell you what. Speaking of cars, the car show was great. We had 5 cars, and that Mustang left. And I didn't catch the guy's name in the Mustang. Beautiful Mustang. If
Yes,
him and
sir.
his friend, if they hadn't have left, they would have won the longest distance driven award.
Mm.
And Cliff even said, he's like, man, they'd have won the award if they'd have stayed. Because I was like, wow. And but you Tracy and Thorne did a great job and picking them cars out. And Jamie Mazingo, he had his vintage car there,
Yeah.
and we made sure we was gonna represent Tri County Speedway, and I shouted out Tri County Speedway on the mic. So maybe next year, some of you other guys that's got cars, maybe you'll bring your dirt car down there and represent Tri County Speedway. Because what better way to advertise your racing and to
Hmm.
advertise the track you race at than to put it in a car show? You don't
That's
see
it.
that very often. Like I went to a car show in Mobile. Me and Cliff went to. Shout out to my buddy Tyler Pridgeon. He's in the Christian band One Step Closer. Y'all need to look them up on Facebook. But he runs a car show at his church down there in Saraland at Bayou Sarah Baptist Church. And we went down there for the car show. They do it in October. And me and Cliff went down there. And there was a guy that had an asphalt car there from Mobile International Speedway. I don't remember who it was, but usually you just don't see dirt cars or asphalt cars at a car show. But if you can win a trophy, that's cool. And it promotes your racing and the racetrack.
Hmm. Yeah, we had a event down here. Not It's been a while back. It was last year, at the Hank Williams Park. I don't remember what it was. Dylan. It was just, there was booths set up and they had car shows and all that. And I mean, you would be surprised at the people that would go around looking at the cars, and they get to a race car and they're like, "Ooh, what is this?" And then you go to explaining it to them, and they're like, "Well, can we get a picture of it? Can we climb in it? Can you crank it? I mean, it's a pretty good ordeal to see all that happening. I hate
Yeah,
I didn't have mine ready to go, but
it's all right. It's all right.
you
Hey,
know, between vehicle tearing up, having to buy a new car for me and the wife, and then wedding coming up June 1st. Woo.
I tell you what,
It's
shout out
hard.
to. Hey, I can't imagine. Well, I can imagine on the vehicle thing. I can promise you that because I've had breakdown after breakdown, and then having to deal with government motors on my blue pickup truck,
Mhm.
and let's just say government motors is not on my highly to do list of people I think highly of. Mike says I'm gonna put my truck in the vintage class next race. Jamie going to drive. Hey, look, if you get your truck resurrected from the grave and you turn it into a dirt car, I will shake your hand, Mike, because that'd be impressive. Because that thing was totaled. Speaking of trucks, Ricky Head. For those that know Ricky Head Jr., he's from Mississippi. He lives an hour from Deep South Speedway, and he lives in Mississippi. And he's been racing many, many years. He's raced everything. Well, back in the day, Hattiesburg Speedway, Hattiesburg. I don't know if Why Not was involved. I know Hattiesburg, Delo. Of course, Delo's a track that's shut down now. Hattiesburg, Delo, maybe Pike County. There's some of them tracks over there. Most of them I've never been to. Hattiesburg's the only one I've been to in that area. But anyways, they used to race a pickup truck class,
Oh yeah,
and
Greenville did. Greenville
yeah,
before it shut down, they had. I mean, full size big trucks. Little, and then they had some S10s. They had a little S10 class, and then they had the big truck class. So,
man, see, that is rated R for redneck. I would do that. Like I've been wanting to get me a dirt car for a while, and of course, it's going to be a class that doesn't race Tri County because I love my announcing job. So, but like the pickup truck class is the most redneck thing. So they tried. Dougie can tell you. Dougie's watching if he's still in here. Dougie can remember when Northwest Florida Speedway started a pickup truck class. Scott Sessions, and they had one pickup truck for two races. Then they finally had two pickup trucks. I want to say one of them was a square body Dodge from the 80s, and then one of them may have been a square body Chevy. I can't remember, but I do remember Mike says it's race ready. uh, but I remember they had two, and it got to the point to where none of the trucks were showing up. So they ended up racing the trucks with the pure stock class, and Dougie was probably racing along that time. I think he was, and I remember that, and they didn't last very long. And I wish they would have the trucks would have got more of would have had more come in because it took Tri County like it took like I can remember. Now this is a long time ago. I've only been working there a little over 2 years now, but I can remember when Tri County first opened, they had the bomber cars and they resurrected the class. Well, it was one car for at least 5, 6 races, one bomber car, and it was the old Harry Gant Skull Bandit throwback car, and or I guess it was Harry Gant, either that. Well, Harry Gant, Robert Presley, and Robert Presley had the 33, and then Kerry Earnhardt, which is Dale Jr.'s brother. I think they had that same. No, it wasn't Kerry Earnhardt. It was Ken Schrader. Ken Schrader.
Kent's right.
It was one
Yeah.
of those. It was one of those three, and I don't remember the driver's name, but he used to race at Tri County, and he was there for at least 5, 6 races all by himself. Then finally, they had two cars. They had two cars for almost a full season. And then finally the class started picking up and picking up and picking up, picking up, picking up. And that's the way you got to do classes if you want them to survive. At least give them a full
Mhm.
year to try it out. And if it don't do nothing from there, then you just kill the class, whatever you got to do. And I love the fact that Tri County is racing my favorite class, the vintage. All the vintage drivers kept saying, "Hey, we want to race there. We want to race. We want to race there. We want to race somewhere different." And boom, put them on schedule. We've been having good car counts, 6 to 7 cars each race near about it. And next race, we're going to have at least 10 cars next race, full field.
Mhm. Yeah, I actually want to show up and watch that bomber race. That's going to be a good bomber race. Uh,
And
and I'm not to say my uncle told me the other day we got another car over there needs the door put back on, need a motor and transmission put in it. He told me the other day, he said, "Why don't you take that car and put a motor and transmission in it, put the door back on it?" He said, "Put a for sale sign on it and carry it down there next week, or the week they race the bomber cars and see if you can't sell it for me." So I
hey,
may show up with a bomber car. I don't know. It ain't gonna be
uh,
mine, but it'll be one for sale.
heck
It's
yeah.
a it's actually a good built car. It's an old Holloway built car, old Theo Holloway and all them from Andalusia. Uh, they
Man,
built the
that's
car.
awesome.
Yeah.
I, I don't guess I know them.
Oh man, he well, Dougie knows him. They used to run up here in Greenville. He run back then. They called them just late models. They wouldn't know, 602 or 604. It was late model. You run what you bring and hope it was enough. And
Wow.
they was a pretty good. They were pretty good running the cars. He drove good. I
Mike's,
think
my,
one of the boys still races or did race. I can't remember his name.
yeah, Mike says everyone has to work together and not run on top of each other.
That's the
I agree.
main thing right there. That
I agree.
is the main thing. Yes, sir.
I agree with that. And I could say so much on that. There's so much I want to say on that, but I'm just
Ooh,
going to
don't get us started on it.
yeah, I'm going to keep my mouth shut. But now, one good thing is that some of the because we're not really in competition with Deep South Speedway because they don't run the same class as we do. Every now and then they run IMCA mods, but try so Northwest Florida Speedway. Shout out to Scott Sessions up there. So we race when they don't race. So they're the only track that nobody races on top of, which it just happens to
Yep.
fall that way this year for whatever reason. But anyways, Northwest Florida is good because that we don't race on top of them because we try to work together with Scott Sessions, and that's what tracks need to do is work together. If you can't work together, then you got
Yep.
problems and you don't care about your neighbor. So um, with Scott Sessions racing on weekends, we don't race. We get to race the vintage, which is awesome, and we've been blessed with that. And then he's got the bombers also, so we get a good bomber count when he's not racing. So that's good. It works out for both of us. We run the same classes he runs, except for he doesn't run the 602 late models or the Iron Horse. And I think it just boiled down to he couldn't afford to run the late models anymore. He used to run the 602s pretty regular.
Yeah, there was a lot of people looking for the Iron Horse late models, and then they was trying to start up that circuit deal to where like running them like 602s and all. Every different tracks run them, and they said they didn't get enough tracks to sign up for it, so
And that's
that's when
sad.
everybody quit looking for. Yeah, I mean they quit looking for Iron Horse late models, and
Which I'll
which
tell
I
you
got.
this. You got one?
Well, yeah, I got the old Christian Porter's over the one he had, and
Oh, that's
I
right, the
thought about,
32.
yeah, I thought about building it. My wife, we went down there. I messed up and took her down there to watch one weekend. She said, "Well, what class is that?" And I said, "That's the Pure Stocks." He said, "So that's the one like you're building?" I said, "Yeah, that's like the one I'm building now. We're working on it." She said, "Well, I like them. You ought to be all right in one of them." And they got done, and when they let the iron horses out, normally when iron horses and late model come out on the track, and as soon as they hit the track, they wide open, for a couple of laps to warm everything, make sure
Yeah.
everything's right. She said, "Well, is that the class of the other car?" I said, "Yep, that's it." asked the Iron Horses. She said, "No, you got to sell that thing." She said, "I ain't ready for you to die yet." So
Well, I tell
I
you
got
what,
told I had to get rid of it.
the Iron Horse late model is the fastest growing late model class in the area, and we got there's a
Mhm.
good many Iron Horse late model cars. There's a full field every race, and some
Yeah.
if somebody wants them a good car, this man's got the old Christian Porter 32 black and red car.
Well, it's actually sold now. Yeah,
Oh,
the
you sold it?
woman Tristan, yeah, Trisha Atkins, her and her husband's bought it.
Oh, cool.
He's looking to get into it. So yeah, they they come up every weekend. We sit and talk and all that. And they real good people. I think well, you may have met them up there walking around at the car show. We told them about the car show, and they come to it. I mean, they're real nice people. They'll come up here and sit. We'll sit and talk, just talk about racing and everything else. So
That's awesome. So
yeah.
everybody share this live. We got one person watching. Let's get at least 5 or 6 people. Let's see. Oh, we got 3 people that click. Oh, snap! Where'd that go? I was not trying to do that. All right, we got 3 people that click like on the video. Whoa, that's loud. Kathy Larry, Jason Katz, and my mom, Latona Hudson. Okay, cool. Jason's watching. Kathy Lowry, y'all keep Kathy Lowry in your prayers. She just had surgery. She's been, I think, having heart problems and stuff like that. So y'all, yeah, that is. For those who don't know who Kathy Lowry is, that's Larry Falk's mom. So y'all keep her in your prayers. Um, all right. So if you got your phone, I'm gonna play a Redeem song. And let's see. Let me go here to media assets. Let's
And
see.
my
I already
phone's on the
played.
break. I don't know what's wrong with it. I
It's
couldn't get
it's
it to
doing
come up on the phone.
it's doing like the government. I wanted to work.
That's right. There you go. There's a guy, not to say anything bad, humored. I will cut the bad word out, but I seen a guy with a shirt on the other day. It says, "No need of sleeping with a woman. The government, you know me every day." So I said, "Man," I said, "How many times have you got caught wearing?" I mean, whoo. He said, "You don't wear it around the government officials." But yeah,
All
I
right,
was
so
like, man,
I'm gonna play this song. Maybe you can force close your Facebook app if you know how to force close it.
ah man, Jared, I'm not computer savvy for all that.
No, no.
Let's see.
Is your phone an Android?
Yeah, it's an Android.
Okay,
Let's see
so
if I
you're going. And I wish Streamyard would. I wish Streamyard like I can hear the music on my end, but that's I guess because I'm running the thing. But my guests can't hear the music unless they're on another device and listening, and that's crazy. Hopefully, Streamyard will fix that. I think they have a Streamyard app now too. You can download. But yeah, if y'all haven't, go to Coon Hunters Outdoors Ministries on YouTube. I got a bunch of videos. I actually got 3 more videos I got to post that I should have posted. But the latest video that I put was Redeemed and J Truth performing, and they did 2 songs. I can't remember which songs they were, but they did 2 songs, and in between the 2 songs, they shouted me and my ministry out, and I thought that was cool. uh, and I was like, well, I wasn't expecting that. Let's see. Let me tag some people to come watch. I got a bunch of
I
videos.
got it. It's working.
Okay, yep, that's it right there. All right, so let me play this song. Can you hear it? shouted me and my ministry out, and I thought that was good. I
Oh,
thought that was.
it's a little behind.
Waste another minute every step. I know you're with me. I've been walking for a while down this road of redemption.
Okay.
Called on you, Jesus. I'm so thankful that you made a way. Cause I was always running, acting stupid, getting lost in confusion. Played the game, was always losing, didn't know what I was doing. Defeated, I was broken, suicidal, feeling hopeless. I was so far away from the truth. Going 100 miles an hour, there was no speed limits. Had a stone cold heart, wasn't worried about forgiveness. Too focused on myself to hear God's voice calling me home. I thought I'd made too many bad decisions. Thought I made way too many mistakes. I thought I spent too much time worrying about all the things I couldn't change. Thought that I was too far gone from mercy. Thought I'd wasted way too many days. Thought I spent too many long, cold, dark nights digging my own grave. But you showed me mercy. You showed me grace. And in that moment I knew how that harlot felt when they dropped those stones and walked away. I don't wanna waste another minute every step. I know you're with me. I've been walking for a while down this road of redemption. Called on you, Jesus. I'm so thankful that you made a way. Cause I was always running, acting stupid, getting lost in confusion. Played the game, was always losing, didn't know what I was doing. Defeated, I was broken, suicidal, feeling hopeless. I was so far away from the truth. Going 100 miles an hour, there was no speed limits. Had a stone cold heart, wasn't worried about forgiveness. Too focused on myself to hear God's voice calling me home. Then I found you, you picked me up. You changed my name and you filled my cup. You carried that cross for me on Calvary that day. And I can't wait to see your face and hear your voice when you say, welcome home, my son, and you open up those gates. And I don't want to waste another minute every step. I know you're with me. I've been walking for a while down this road of redemption. Called on you, Jesus. I'm so thankful that you made a way. Cause I was always running, acting stupid, getting lost in confusion. Played the game, was always losing, didn't know what I was doing. Defeated, I was broken, suicidal, feeling hopeless. I was so far away from the truth. Going 100 miles an hour, there was no speed limits. Had a stone cold heart, wasn't worried about forgiveness. Too focused on myself to hear God's voice calling me home. And now I'm home.
Man, that's such a great song, man.
I know it. I love it. I tell you, they played some more that I really love. The I hadn't heard Dry Bones before, and I fell in love with it. I love it.
Oh man, and you know what? I'm
good
gonna play. I'm gonna load that one up, and I'm gonna play that one.
That's a good song.
Have you ever
Follow
heard the
Jesus.
sound of dry bones rattling? Let's see. All right, so let me go ahead. I'm gonna add that in here. So, so tell everybody about your experience with meeting these artists and the concert and.
Oh, I mean, I tried getting people to go, Mr. Jerry, and they just didn't want to go. Or, you know, a lot of them, and they missed a good concert. I mean, I enjoyed it. It's not every day that you get to go to a concert and like get to just sit there and talk to the artist and let them. I mean, they play with you. You know, like I say with Jimmy Hunt. I mean, awesome guy, awesome. He come over there and he talked to us, and you know he heard the story of what my wife's went through. You know what I've went through with my brother and all, and he told both of us. He said, "Look," he said, "Man," he said, "I'm gonna tell you like this." He said, y'all don't know it, but you know God's fixed to use y'all." He said, y'all have testimonies right now that will just blow people's mind. And he said, I'm going to tell you, he said, I feel God's got big plans for y'all too. And, he prayed for us and prayed, for our marriage and us getting married. And I mean, he just talked. He is awesome. Uh, Redeemed. I mean, I was desperately really wanting to meet him, and I got to meet him, got to talk to him. I mean, he wasn't one of these that wanted to hurry up and talk to you. He stood there and listened to all of them. I mean, every one of them. I didn't really get to talk to Clean Slate. Him and Mallory, they were singing at the last of it, and my wife was getting tired, but now she loved Mallory B. She said that they should have opened with her. I mean, she
Ooh.
just fell in love with her voice. She has a tremendous voice. I mean,
And
I
I tell you
enjoy it.
what. Oh, look, let me tell you about Mallory. So I listen to a lot of Christian music because obviously I work with Quake Radio, and I can tell you, like, there's female singers I can listen to, and I'm like, great message, just not a fan of the voice. But then
That's it.
I've got a list of female singers that they could write a song about dog food, and I'd like it. I'd be like, yeah, I'm buying that song right away.
Yeah,
I'm dead
I,
serious. They could write a song about old Roy, and if it's a
I,
good enough, beautiful voice, yep, Jared sold.
I, I actually heard one of the. I went on the Clean Slates page, and they got the song Journey plays. What is it? Don't Stop Believing.
Yes, they did the remix.
They done a remix to it. I mean, it is awesome. It's got Nestor and all of them redeemed, and Mallory and Clean Slate. But now my wife, she just loved Mallory B. She said, I think they should have opened with her. And I said, yeah, she does.
So
She's got a good voice.
I got to give a
And
huge
you,
shout out. No, go ahead.
I mean, I mean, you can actually hear her story. When she's singing, you can hear the story in her voice. I mean,
And
it's
see,
like,
I love a good storyteller. A
that's
good
it.
storyteller. There's a lot of musicians out there that are garbage, that are trash, that are
Mhm.
a lot of mainstream music is that way,
Yeah,
and like the worldly kind of music, and then but an artist that can tell a story with their music is phenomenal. And shout out to my boy Marcus Etheridge. I forgot to shout him out earlier. Marcus had a booth where he passed out water, free water to everybody. He went and bought every single pack of water he could buy from the gas station.
oh man, and
And
they was even bringing the people water. I mean, to keep like, me and my wife sitting there, and I was like, well, I'm thirsty. I'm gonna go get a bottle of water because by then it ain't got hot. Just wanting to sing, and I was like, I don't need to drink. And I mean, the next thing you know, there's this girl coming by, and she's like, here, just passing the water out. I mean, I don't know if you got to see that, but they was
yeah, oh
actually
yeah.
people to pass the water out. And I was like,
And,
wow, man.
and if he's in here, he usually watches my show. He comes on as a guest every now and then. If you're in here, Marcus, I want to shout you out, man, because he lives
For
maybe
real.
5 minutes from me, and he told me, he's like, man, I'm thinking about just going buying up all the water I can, and setting up and passing out free water. And when I say buy up all the water, he bought 20, like the big 24 packs of
Yeah.
water. I think he went to the Circle K or whatever gas station he went to, and he bought every single one they had. I
Definitely
said,
give him a shout out.
holy cow crap, Batman, that's a lot of water. and then, like, and he told me he was going to do that. He said, I was thought about setting up a booth. I said, man, that's a ministry in itself.
Yes,
He said, well,
sir.
he said, I just figure everybody's going to be hot and everybody's going to be thirsty. And I said, yeah, man, exactly.
And
And
the artist was, what they're singing and all. They had to have
yes,
something.
ain't no doubt, and it was good water too.
Yes,
And
sir.
like
Good and
I
cold. I mean,
and him and his family, that was his kids that were going around passing them out. So shout
mm,
out to Marcus and his kids, man. They were passing them out, and they had a blast. He even told me, he said, man, asked me what hotel Redeem was staying at. I said, well, in Thomasville. Man, I want to get a shirt before he leaves this area, and I hope he did get a shirt from them before they left. Um, but
I
that
bought.
was
I started to buy. I wanted to buy a hat, but between we was trying to make sure we had enough money and all to last and through the
yeah,
week and all. I was like, well, I said I'll just buy me and my wife a shirt. I mean, she'll like a shirt, I'll like a shirt. So I actually went over there and I bought me the black shirt, and it says it's got the spikes made like on the back of it, and it's got like the blood in it. And it says I'm covered in the blood, and then on the front of it it says I'm redeemed. And I bought me that shirt, and then I told my wife, I said, well, you want one? She said, yeah, but I don't want a black shirt. I said, well, okay. So I went and bought her a white one. I know it on the back of it. I think on the back it says "Holy Dipping in the Spirits," or
oh yeah,
it
yeah.
sounded like they were
Holy dripping,
saying "Holy
yeah,
Dripping." That's it. So I
yeah,
got it. I wore my shirt. I'd actually had somebody made it, and it was the cross and the spikes, the nails,
yeah.
and it says the way, the truth, the life. And I was like, well, man, I ain't got nothing to get them the autograph. I want to get all those autographs. So I was like, can you autograph something? And Redeem said, yeah, man, if you let me get the trailer set up and all, and then whenever you get ready, you come on back. And he said, I'll autograph it. He said, well, where are you gonna autograph? I said, man, the shirt. You just write it on my shirt. So he actually I mean, all of them actually autographed the back of my shirt. And I come in, and I
That's
hung it
cool.
in the closet. I said, well, I won't be wearing that no more. I said, I got all those autographs. So
So I just showed this hat. I bought this hat,
yeah, I
and
wanted to get me one like that.
it says redeemed. It's got the little crosses, and
Yep,
the front of it looks like cork. It looks like an actual
yep.
cork. It feels like cork. I don't know what it is, but I had to buy that to support his ministry. And shout out to Dean Parnell. I didn't know Dean, but he's from Grove Hill. Cliff knew him. Cliff's best friends with him. And Dean Parnell, y'all go to my YouTube. In fact, I got the video right here. Let's see. Subscribe. Let's see. Okay. Okay. So that banner scrolling at the bottom has the link for Dean Parnell's testimony. And it's got over 200 views on it, which is amazing. So shout out to Dean Parnell. So Cliff and Dean's been friends for years, and Dean was a bad drug addict, like bad, from my understanding, what he said in his testimony. And Cliff got him. I think it was Cliff. I may be wrong on that, but either way, Cliff helped him get some help, and he went to a drug rehab in Tennessee. And so he went to that rehab and got clean. And so he met Jay Truth, which is Jonathan Teague, and Josh Richards, which is Redeemed. He met them at this drug rehab clinic or wherever he was at. And so they witnessed to him and they got Dean saved, which is a huge praise report from God. And so Dean shared his testimony about meeting them. And if it wasn't for them, and he had just moved back to Grove Hill like a week before. And so shout out to Dean Parnell. And he's like, and you can see it in the video. He said, man, he said, I'm nervous. I ain't never done this before.
Mm-hmm.
And he shared his testimony of what God did for him. And I said, man, that is awesome. Well, then they do the shout out to Joshua Hutchinson and his wife Mallory, aka Clean Slate. He performed, and hey, Dustin Dixon, how you doing, my friend? And he performed and did the altar call. And when he did the altar call, I was live on Facebook, and this teenage girl, this blonde-haired girl, that got saved, and they were shouting her out. They was like, "Hey, shout out to so and so." I don't remember her name. And I said, wow, that's awesome. And I went up to her while I was live and I said, hey, congratulations. She said, well, thank you. And it turns out later, from what Cliff told me, that is Dean Parnell. That is his son's girlfriend that got saved. And I
Oh,
said, wow, everything happens for a reason. So Dean sharing his testimony, I guarantee you that's what helped get her saved that night.
yes, sir.
That and all the other artists. And so, like, how cool is that? And then they said she's gonna get baptized the next morning at Cliff's Church in Abundant Life in Jackson. And I don't think she could make it that morning. She texted Cliff, said she couldn't make it, but I can't wait to hear about her getting baptized. I hope they
Mhm.
video it because that is really huge. Like the devil did not win that
Yes,
night.
I got a no. I actually I've tried. You know, my town. I don't know. I may get in a lot of trouble, especially if people, which I don't know if anybody around here is watching. But you know, my town they do what they do is called a Hank Williams. I mean, I don't know if you've ever come down to it.
I've never been to the
But,
festival, but I hear it's awesome.
well, I hadn't been to it in years. To be honest, I was more the type when I went to it. You know, it was for the younger kids. They had like artists that we knew, we understood, and like a big street dance that closed the street down. And you know, they quit doing that. And they started getting people that my mama listened to. I don't know nothing about who even singing. You know, and she's like, "Well, I know them." You know, I'm like, "Well, I ain't never heard of them. That's back before my time." You know, and
Yeah.
I actually went to who I thought actually would help put it on and try getting them to bring something like this, Jesus in the Park or something like this down here. And actually had a lot of people that watched my live video, and they're like, "Yeah, man, we would love to go see something like that. Had we known about that, we would have went. Some of them probably didn't know, but
Yeah.
uh, she had actually watched some of the videos, and she said, I kind of, if I could say yes, we would do this. She said, then I sure would. She said, because I liked it. She said, but we have to run it through so many people. And she said, then you got to get them on board to do it. Then you got to get this. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, y'all do it every year for the Hank Williams. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
you don't y'all talking about everybody in this town's talking about we want to get something the younger generation, the kids,
That's
even
right.
I've had churches even tell me, the kids are the foot soldiers to that church. Before long they will be the ones needing to do stuff, get them
Yep.
involved. And I tried telling the lady, I was like, look, if you had seen what I seen, and shout out to the concert. I what I was really enjoyed and loved about it was the kids. The kids was not running around playing. Them kids was right there at that stage, singing, dancing,
And that's what
and
it's about.
most times when you go to something like that, you got kids running around over here. The parents get there. All right, kids, go play. Why do this? No, them kids was right there, and I'm like, man, this is awesome. Uh, she actually give me a number. Uh, it's to a guy. I got to get back up with him. His name's Robert Patton. He's out of Laverne, and he's actually renovating the old Georgiana High School over here to turn it into I would say like a drug rehabilitation and a ministry deal, to help people get back on their feet, help drug addicts, get back on their feet, get them a job. He actually said he's got like 50 guys in his deal now, and he's looking to have more. Uh, he was gonna run it by his committee people and say, hey, look, this would be something that might would help us. And I got to get back up with him. And then there's another lady, uh, Nina. She she runs like a little place over here beside the grocery store. She rents out U-Hauls and does like you can rent the building, and she puts like little prom deals and stuff like that. She involves stuff for the kids. And she actually, I was playing it in the car today. I talked to her and she listened to it. And she was like, "Hey, look, give me the information." That's why I asked you. I got to get back up with her and give her that, because she said that she honestly believes it will be worth a try to just see if we can get younger generation kids down here involved in that. Because I mean,
Yes.
my town, I mean, literally, my town, you can go to one certain station in this town and you can buy any kind of drug you want. Even if you don't know nobody, you go and sit there within 5 to 10 minutes, somebody's going to walk up and ask you what you need. And
Yeah.
it's just, you know, and she's actually on board to try it. I got to get up with her and give her the information to the people and all, and see if we can't get something set up.
I gotta
City
tell you
Hall
what.
did say, go ahead.
No, no, go ahead.
They did say that if we did find somebody that would help us and or wanted to do it, that we can rent the Hank Williams part, the stage and all that. The band can set up on the stage, or we can rent it. She said, and after you get done at the end of the night, as long as everything's cleaned up, left like it was, you get the money back for renting it. They did actually say that we could do that. So, she said that we may just see about getting something like that. Just doing something. She said that it would be up to us if we put it up there and stuff to say, hey, this is a free concert, or hey, at least a $5 donation to help pay, for something we have to pay for, and stuff like that. So they did tell us that. So I got to get back up with Miss Nina and discuss it with her and give her the information. I do know I would like for I'd love for Clean Slate and them to come. I'd love for Redeem, but I definitely want Jimmy Hunt to come. I mean,
Oh
he
yeah.
is. I mean, that man was awesome. Him and B Rad, or our love. I can't remember the two. The
Oh yeah. Oh
man and
yeah.
he.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Be radical. Our love, and then
That's it. I mean,
shout out to Brett Jarnigan. Be prophetic. He opened the show. He was great.
he was good. I actually talked to him. I seen him. He had a Redeem shirt on, and I hadn't. I was like, well, I wonder if he's with Redeem. And I asked him, and he's like, no, no. He's like, man, he's like, I'm be prophetic. I'm Redeem's like my brother. He's like, I wear his merchandise and he wears mine. We do. I was like, oh, okay. And he literally, come up there, seen me sitting in the stand and gave me a little barcode thing to scan on my phone so I can listen to their music anytime I want. And he's like, here, take this, brother, scan it whenever you want to listen to your music. He said, we're right there, just it pops up. And I was like, okay. And, I mean, they're all of them awesome. I mean, you can
And
hear
shout out.
every one of story in their song. They told their story in the song. I loved all of it. I mean, it was just all awesome. Loved it.
And shout out to my dude Jaron Tui who's watching. He says, "What it do, brothers?" He is the lead singer of the Christian rock band Epigone, and y'all need to book Epigone band and hit up Jaron Tui there in the comments. He'll get you hooked up. and if you want to come live with us, Jaron, click that link I put in there, and you can come live with us if you want. So look, you let me know like let's keep praying on this. I want this to work in your area.
I
Jimmy
do,
Hunt.
man.
Look, there's my dude, Jimmy Hunt. We finna write it in the dirt, as Jimmy Hunt
Right
says.
in the dirt, brother.
Yeah, I
Love
love that. I love that song. He said, I got
it,
my
man.
so just write it in the dirt. Write it
I
in the
watched
dirt.
the video. I watched the video to that. I don't know if it was the original video, but I watched his video of it, and I mean,
Yep,
it
that's
is
it.
awesome. I need to get one of them CDs. I mean,
Look,
it was awesome. I love it.
I got
Yes,
these. I got
sir.
shout out to Jimmy Hunt and his wife. Jimmy's in the comments. And if you want to come live with us, Jimmy, the link to come up's in the comments there. But look,
Come
this is
on,
his
Jimmy.
yeah, this is his CD grade, and I need to ask him. Jaron says, "Be right back." Okay, deal. I need to ask him. I forgot to ask him what does grade stand for, and I'm sure he's told me. But grade, that's how you can find his music. Type in grade on Amazon Music, and
Great.
this is his album Resurrection 2. On the back, it's got Jimmy Hunt, and it's got the two. It's got the Jesus fish in the middle, which is awesome. And
Yeah,
then it says
when he autographed my shirt, Mr. Jared, he said, I got to put the fish on there. I said, put it on there, brother. Put it on there. I
that's
mean,
awesome.
I love it.
And it's Vertical Music Ministries, and this is his debut album. Y'all need to buy this album. It's got all the
Okay.
hits. I'm finna read off all these hits on here. Tony Viggins, how you doing, Tony? Shout out to Music Crush Monday in the building. Tony's in here. All right, so this is a huge album, 16 songs. The more songs on an album, the better, man. Like I'm
Yes,
not a
sir.
fan of like small albums that's got like 4 songs. I
The
like
four
the
song.
more
Yeah.
because a CD will hold 80 minutes worth of music. If you can jam pack
Yep.
80 minutes worth of music on there, then I'm all. So
And
this is
I like putting them on there and putting it on shuffle. Not play, just surprise me. Play the
I
first one and
like
then
it.
skip to number 12. Surprise me with it. So
So you can find him on Vertical Music Ministries on Facebook. Vertical is his
okay,
artist name. YouTube at Grade Official. He got an Instagram. He's got a. All right, so this is okay. So through the fire, which is the intro. Trust the process. You gotta trust the process. That's
process.
number
Yep,
two.
I've heard that.
Enlightenment. Write it in the dirt. Psalm 91. Man, I love that song, Psalm 91. I'll play that
Song
in a minute.
91. Yes, sir. I
You
heard
got
it.
Pray, You and Me, My Walk featuring Lachey. Forever Not Guilty. Satan tried to kill me.
That
That's featuring King Discern and Zach Service. I think that's how I said. Humble Child, number 10. Discipline, number 11. Kingdom Stand featuring Win 80. Hallelujah featuring Lady Malone and Terry P. And track number 15, I Worship You featuring Terry P. And the last song is Eye of the Fire featuring McPraise.
okay.
MacPrayze. Very cool. What you doing, Tony? Share this out, Tony. Let's get a bunch of people in here, Tony. Thank you, Tony.
I
Um,
was my
so
wife. She told me. She said, "I want to go to a concert," and I said, "Yeah, maybe we'll get to go to one." And it didn't even dawn on me that we was already going to one. And you had said, "Well, one of the judges wasn't going to be able to make it," and I was like, "Well, I'm supposed to make this a for sure. I got to show up ordeal." I said, "Mr. Jared, count me in. I'll be a judge." And you said, "Good deal." So when I got up the next morning, went to work. I come home. I said, "Babe," I said, we've got to go to this car show." She said, "Why?" I said, "Mr. Jared made me a judge, so I got to show up." Well, okay, well we gonna go. And she said, "I really would love to go to a concert sometime, just me and you, or just let's just go to a concert." And I said, "Well, we will." And I said, "Well, hey, we're going to a concert." She said, what do you mean? I said, well, the Jesus in the park. It's a car show and a car. She said, it sure is, ain't it? And I'm going to tell you what. Now, her mom, and, with all the prayers, she's actually gotten a lot better, but she had got real messed up. She had a big ordeal, and her mom had, got to where she wasn't able to walk. She couldn't walk, couldn't do nothing really, just shaking all the time. The doctors and the good Lord above actually helped figure out what's wrong with her. But she had wanted to go to church. We invited her to our church one day, and we she was doing her rehabilitation in the nursing home. So we went by there and picked her up. We carried her to church with us that morning, and they was they called for, the preacher, asked everyone to stand up. Mr. Roy, he had asked everyone to stand up and pray. It was actually doing like altar call, and she actually stood up. He come over there and he prayed with her, and her standing there for so long, her legs had got back weak. So they went and got her a wheelchair, and they was trying to get her in there to go to the bathroom, and the between my wife pulling the wheelchair up the steps, she lost her balance and fell. And, she hit her lower back, and she's been real sore from that. She was actually sore that day, sitting in the chair, lower back was hurting her and all. And she she said, I to be, just sitting here hurting, and I'm hurting like I am. She said, I am really enjoying myself. I said, well, I'm glad you are. And she enjoyed it, bro. I mean, enjoyed it.
And
She
like I'll say this, like people, and I know some people like this, and I'm not gonna say no names because I don't roll like that. But like I know people that have said, "Oh, that rap music's garbage. That rap music
oh
is so
man,
and so," and but what they don't realize is the message is more important than how it sounds. You need to quit living in
that's
the
it.
night. You need to quit living in the 1900s
Mhm.
and and realize there's more music than just the same old.
Yeah,
I don't listen to K Love. I just don't, and I'm not bashing them by no means. But they play the kind of music I don't listen to. Now they do play some music I do listen to because I do listen to some worship music, but most of the stuff is just the same old sappy stuff. Just
yeah.
But like with Quake Radio, of course we do play some stuff like that too. But I love the upbeat music. That's one reason I relate to rap music because or Christian rap because
Hmm.
like I'm just gonna go ahead and be real with you. Mainstream rap music is rapping about the same old things:
That's it.
drugs, drugs, cars with big wheels, girls with a big booty, shooting cops, doing this, doing
Shooting,
that.
killing. Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't relate to that garbage. I can't relate to that crap. It's trash, in my
yeah.
opinion. And so that's why I listen to country rap some, but I listen to Christian rap more than anything. And I can relate to some of the stuff because it's talking about Jesus. It ain't got no cuss words in it. It ain't got this. It ain't
Yes.
got that.
I
And
gotta
and
go ahead.
go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I
So
actually have a buddy, Mr. Jerry. Uh, he's like a brother to me. I mean, I can call him right now and say, "Hey, look, man, I need help doing something." And it may take him a little bit of time, or maybe an hour or two to get over here, but now he's gonna come help. And we was sitting out there one day. It was actually before the car show. Uh, I mentioned my wife said something about, well, we got to get up early now and get ready to go to the car show. I said, yeah. And she said, I'm ready to go listen to the music. And he said, well, what are you talking about music? And I said, well, yeah, they're having a concert. He said, what kind of concert is it? And I said, it's Christian rap. He said, huh? He said, hey, you got something other like that I can hear? I said, yeah, I'll play you some of it. So I played him a little bit of the Redeem and, all of them. And I actually seen him yesterday. He was in the car. He was leaving the store, and he pulled up there beside me. He said, "Hey, hold on, let me turn this down." And I said, hold up. I said, wait a minute. I said, is that redeeming J. Truth? He said, yeah, man. He said, man, you done got me hooked on these. I love this. And I said, man, I said, to me, I said, I love it because you can understand what they're saying, and it's a message in what they're saying, and it's about the man that really needs all the attention. He needs
That's
all
right.
self respect. And he said, man, he said, since you played that song for me that night, he said, I have just wanted it. He said, my wife done said I'm running her. He said, but I over there, and he said she's over there just a tapping on the side of the door, bobbing her head. He said, my kids is in the back singing it. He said, man, he said, I wished I could have made it to go see it. We actually invited him to go, but it was his mom's birthday and all, and they had a barbecue and cookout and all planned. But he even
Yeah.
told me, he said, look, he said, man, he said, oh, old buddy of mine come pulling up and rattling the windows and all that. He said, I went out there and told him, I said, turn that down. We listening to the music here. And he said the buddy turned his radio down, and he said, man, he said we had all kinds. He said, I don't even know if you've heard of them. He said, but I just typed in Christian rap. And he said, man, there's so many people that you can listen to on there. He said, I had some Redeem going, some J Truth going. He said, when that guy left, he was changing his and hooking his phone up and Googling the same people listening to it. And I told him, I said, man, I said, if we can get everybody down here in Georgiana riding around with these loud stereos like that, I said, it will be an all right ordeal. Uh,
So I got to give a huge. That's really awesome. I got to give a huge shout out to Tracy Newton. He's 64, and he commented this on Facebook, and he
yes,
told
sir,
me in
I
person
read
because
that. Yes, sir.
he goes to church with me, and he told me he said I got a new respect for Christian rap music. It wasn't what I thought it was, and he was a judge, and he didn't stay for the whole thing. He stayed
Mhm.
long enough to hear "Be Prophetic" and Jimmy Hunt, because he mentioned about the black rapper that performed and preached, and I said, yeah, I think that was Jimmy Hunt. But he left after he got through. But he said, man, he said they had church.
Church.
He said
Yeah.
like he told me straight up. He's like, I'm a 64-year-old man, and I have a new respect for Christian rap music. And he was one of those that said, oh, that rap music's garbage. I can't
Yeah.
understand it. I can't this and that. And when he heard Jimmy Hunt out there out in the crowd with people sharing
Oh,
Jesus and talking
yes.
about
Yeah.
Psalm 91. And when he got done, it changed his whole perspective. And I don't know how late Thorne got to stay, but I hope Thorne was impressed. Like he was impressed with the whole event.
I
So
was.
that just goes to show you can't be judgmental on that
Oh,
type of
no.
music,
No.
especially Christian rock music. Like I hear it all the time. Turn
Yeah.
that mess down, or we can't, or I'll get complaints. Like I try to mix some of this music in at
Yeah.
the racetrack, and some of this Christian music. I listen to a lot of Christian rock music, but I can't play too much of it, or I'll get complaints from people saying I can't understand it. It's like, well, maybe you need to quit being in the 1900s, and
There
uh,
you go.
I
Branch
mean,
out.
if yeah, branch out and look, there's music that I don't listen to. It may not be my type of music, but if it's Christian and telling people about Jesus, I'm not going to judge it. I'm just going to
That's
say
it.
I'm not going to listen to it. But if it's got a great message, go ahead on, brother, because you reach people that I can't reach.
Yes, sir. And I like Jimmy. I love the way Jimmy done his. He broke his down in like verses. He said,
Yes,
first we're gonna do this. And then next he said, we're gonna do this. Write it in the dirt. And then, he when he sung, it was broke down in like messages in like a story mode message. And
yes.
I mean I enjoyed it.
So
I'm not
I'm
gonna
gonna
lie.
go ahead and play. I'm gonna play two more songs after this one, but I'm gonna go ahead and play Jimmy's song "Forever Not Guilty." watch the music video. His wife's in the video. That's his wife that plays the other part, and he's in the courtroom, and like it's
Yep.
really awesome. Y'all need to listen close to this message and tell us what you think. This is track number 9 off the CD I just showed you called "Forever Not Guilty."
The New Covenant, Hebrews chapter 8, verse 12.
Hebrews chapter 8, verse 12.
To their unrighteousness and their sins and iniquities I will remember no more. Oh, found me crashed in the middle of the road, bleeding out on the pavement all alone. Then you came and you revived my soul. Now I know I'm forever not guilty. Satan tried to kill me. I was dead and lost in my sin, and I'll still be running, but your blood covered the cost. Now I will be shouting to the judge, not guilty, forever not guilty. Romans 6:23, wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life. In Jesus Christ I rest. Yes, I studied the text. I live life through his death and prayer without ceasing. Crucifixion of flesh, living good was a stretch. I came and converted the mess. A couple of gun and dope charges, some heard of the rest. I give him praise because he's worthy, no worries, I'm blessed. He chose to love me first, so I give him my best. Forever not guilty, Jesus Christ paid the price. In the beginning was the word when God created life. It's a spiritual fight, nothing could take me down. Open and shut case, there's no need for trial. Forever not guilty.
Found me crashed in the middle of the road, bleeding out on the pavement all alone. Then you came and you revived my soul. Now I know I'm forever not guilty. Satan tried to kill me. I was dead lost in my sin, and I'll still be running. But your blood covered the cost. Now I will be shouting to the judge, not guilty, forever not guilty.
I was at a crossroad, feeling so cold on both knees, begging up to God, rid me for the sinful nature in the darkness, paint me a new life. You the artist, feeling like a cursed soul, but God covered my curse on the cross. How I know His word says so. He fulfilled the law when the spirit rose back to heaven. God completed me. Lucky number 7 could have been me. Dead or failing, stop the eulogy. Didn't need a reverend. You are not the jury. Judgment come from heaven, far from innocent. Everyday repentance, I was smelling death. Now I'm heaven sent, earth is not my home. I am just a sinner trying to reach the brothers cooking in the kitchen, fighting life sentences. My Lord, my God, I pray they give you their heart again. I know they strayed away. I pray you forgive them, Lord, let them start again. These trials and tribulations, give them wisdom, never depart from it. The devil gon' judge your past, but God expunged it for them cases. So,
Found me crashed in the middle of the road, bleeding out on the pavement all alone. Then you came and you revived my soul. Now I know I'm forever not guilty. Satan tried to kill me. I was dead and lost in my sin, and I'll still be running, but your blood covered the cost. Now I will
Thank
be
you,
shouting to
Jesus.
the judge, not guilty,
Hallelujah.
forever not guilty.
Father, I give you praise. It's your breath in my lungs. And I see you in another state. You protected my son. The blood is on the doorpost because the victory's won. For sins present in the future and things that I've done. Lord, you forgave me, saved me. Now you're raising me up through the water of your truth. Your grace amazes me. I walk in faithfully, patiently as you do your work. My daddy is the God who made the universe. And I just want to thank you for the stormy nights. And even though they crossed the line, you told me be polite. As mankind would never understand your sacrifice. Through Jesus Christ who conquered death and was raised to life. Now I'm forever not guilty.
Found me crashed in the middle of the road, bleeding out on the pavement all alone. Then you came and you revived my soul. Now I know I'm forever not guilty. Satan tried to kill me. I was dead and lost in my sin, and I'll still be running, but your blood covered the cost. Now I will be shouting to the judge, not guilty, forever not guilty. Oh, found me crashed in the middle of the road, bleeding out on the pavement all alone. Then you came and you revived my soul. Now I know I'm forever not
guilty. Satan tried to kill me. Lost in
and I'll still be running, but your blood covered the cost. Now I will be shouting to the judge, not guilty, forever not guilty.
Man, what a great message.
Love it.
So, That song is Forever Not Guilty, featuring King Dizern, Dizern, and Zach Service, Servis, is the other two artists on that. So that was great. So shout out to good message, ain't it?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I'm gonna do two more songs before we end the show. All right, so I'm gonna play Dry Bones, Redeemed, and J Truth, and I love this song. And shout out to Miss Cece Cartwright. She's was watching. I went by her dad's store the other day. So let me share a quick story here of how awesome God
Yeah,
is. So
that's an awesome place. I've been in there on there. It's
yeah, so shout out to her dad. I forgot what she said her dad's name was, but her and her dad, I mean her brother, excuse me, her brother and dad run a grocery store, Jones Taxidermy. Mr.
yeah,
Jones,
Mr. Jones.
what is his first name? Anyways, they run a taxidermy and country store.
Hmm.
And we was talking, and I went in there. I was making a delivery run the other day for work, and I had to stop by and get something to drink and eat. That was my lunch, and so I stopped by and get a drink. And my favorite brand of cookies, which is Uncle Al's cookies, which by the way, you're not gonna find Uncle Al's cookies at a Buc-ee's or any of these big name stores. You'll find them at country stores and other gas stations. But anyways, so I bought me some cookies and was talking with him, and he was telling me about his business and um, and it sounded like his business wasn't doing too great. And then he was talking about his son had the taxidermy business, which if you need any taxidermy, go see Jones Taxidermy. And so we were talking, and I handed him one of my witnessing tracks that I give out. And I don't have one folded up right here, but anyways, I gave him a witnessing track, and I walk out, and I see this tow truck pull up, and this tow truck, and I was in the service. I was in one of the work trucks. I had to go to Montgomery to pick up some parts for work, and so I see this tow truck pull up, and it was a black tow truck with electric green letters on it. And the guy walks up to me and says, "Hey, are you a mechanic?" I said, "No." He saw my shirt and pants. My shirt says Gulf Coast Truck, and it's got my name on there. And I said, "No, I'm not a mechanic, but we work on a lot of diesel trucks and stuff up here." He said, "Okay, well I seen your shirt said Gulf Coast Truck, your truck there." And he said, "Well, do y'all know anything about high nose?" I don't know nothing about a high nose truck. I've seen them, but I've never seen one like up in person. And I guess it's a foreign brand. It's Hino, and
Yeah.
neat looking rollback he had. And he was telling me what his problems was working on the truck. And I said, "Well, this is who you need to call." And I told him my shop foreman's number to the store. I told him to call up there. And I told him, I said, "This is the number you need to call." And he said, "Well, I ain't got my phone with me." So he wrote it down on the back of his business card, wrote the phone number down on who to call down there. So hopefully he called up there and they could get him straightened out on how to fix his truck. And so, anyways, we were talking, and I gave him one of my Whitson tracks. And then he said, "Here's one of my business cards here." Now he hands me a business card, and it's Mr. Taylor, Taylor's Tower and Wrecking,
Yes, sir.
State Highway 21, Mentor, Alabama. I don't know the guy. Pretty cool guy. Got the picture of a truck on there with the car. Cool looking card, and it's got that kind of a dark green kind of color on the front. Taylor's Towing. And so he handed me this, but the way he handed it to me was he handed me this side of the card. And it's got a Bible verse on the back. And it says, "Commit your work to the Lord, and your plans will be established." Proverbs 16:3. And I was like, holy crap. Like I've been praying for a change for a while, and just different things. And this was confirmation. Like, wow, like I was supposed to stop by the store that day and speak to Mr. Jones, because if I hadn't stopped by that store, I wouldn't have met him, and I wouldn't have got this business card with that awesome Bible verse on the back. Like I had no idea this guy was Christian. I just handed him a witnessing track because you never know. And
Yeah.
so then he handed me this back. I said, "Whoa, how cool is that? That was supposed to happen," and that just made my day. I said, "Man, that's awesome." So I'm saving this business card, and
Mr. Jones, a nice man to talk to. I worked. Well, matter of fact, I was working. I worked. I've been working up there on 21, going toward Camden, and we worked back up that way up past the store. And I left one day, and I mean, thirsty. I was tired, thirsty, done walked. I was like, man, I want to get me a bag of chips and a cold drink. And I remembered that that station was there, so I left out, went on down the dirt road, and pulled up there, went in. I got my drink, got me a bag of chips, and I went up there to the counter. And I was getting ready to pay for it, and I looked up there. He's got pictures of his family, with Brent and Cade and all them. And I seen a picture of the race car. I said, well, I said, the people that drive that 77 car? He says, yes, sir. That's my grandsons. I said, no. Mr. Kennicott, right? He said, yeah, that's my grandsons. And I told him where I was working. I was actually working right up the road from his house and didn't even know it. And we stood
wow,
there and talked. And I said, well, I said, I tell you what, I said, I'll give you a picture. Matter of fact, I went in there and got a picture of my car. I had a picture of the 330 car. And I went out there and got a picture of it, and I signed it, and I said, here, you can hang this one up on the wall. You can tell them you met me. I'm a real awesome guy to talk to. I sat there and talked to him for the longest. I was off the clock, so I was like, man, I'm kill a little time, drink my little cold Pepsi, and sit and talk with him, man. I mean, awesome.
that is
Nice
awesome.
guy.
I love
Real,
country stores are my favorite. The
yes,
stores
sir.
I can't stand, and me and him had a conversation about how it makes me so mad that, and I'm not racist, I'm not judgmental. I get along with anybody. But what makes me mad is the government gives all these breaks to people from India, and they're buying
India.
up all our gas stations. They're killing all our jobs. They're taking jobs from us left and right.
Well, Mr. Jared,
And,
I done some work for ones down here, and I I got the guys like, well, man, whenever I need something done, I'll call you. I said, okay. So he started calling me, every other day. Hey, come look at this, and I go look at it. Well, he called me one day and he said, man, he said, I need you to come by the store and look at something for me. I said, okay. I said, well, I'll be by there probably around 3 or 4 o'clock. Well, I go to the store and I walk in and I don't see him. I asked the guy behind the counter. He's like, no, I know him. I don't know him. I was like, well, okay. So I go back out there and I call him. And his name was, how it's a weird name, Ravi. I called. I said, Ravi. I said, I'm down here at the store, man. And he was. Some of them's awesome. He was an awesome guy.
yeah,
He helped me through racing. I could go by there and fill my race car up with gas, fill my truck up with gas, and he'll wave at me when I pull off. Never had to pay
that's
for it.
awesome.
I mean, he
That's
was an
awesome.
awesome guy. And I said, well, Ravi, I said, I'm out here at the store, man. Where you at? Oh, no, no, no. I'm no in Georgiana no more. I said, what? Well, you wanted me to come by the store? He said, yeah. I was over here. You know a little town called Batty? I said, yeah. He said, I'm in Batty. I said, well, man, I can't come there today. I said, that's a good ways away. I said, I'll come by there Friday or so. He said, okay. And I went up there and I looked at what he had to do and I actually fixed it for him. And I told him, I said, look,
Awesome.
man, I said, man, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I know you're probably gonna have a heart attack when I tell you what I'm gonna charge for doing it. I'm like, but this is $20 worth of gas to get here, and then I spent an hour and a half to do it. I mean, you owe me about $80. No, 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 me pay you. He give me $80, and
That's awesome.
I said, man, I said, what happened to the Georgiana store? He said, well, and what they do is that it's not so much as the government. They've got it figured out. I've got to notice like now when it come time for taxes, there's different people in the store.
Oh, they
They
beat the system.
Yeah, they beating the system. They'll
Oh, that.
sell the store to another group of Indians, and that group of Indians will they'll get it for they won't have to pay taxes or something. It'll be a break on the tax.
Wow.
So yeah, they got it figured out. And then I was talking to a guy the other day in the grocery store. He's a retired vet guy, and he said, "Man," he says, he says we are sitting on the biggest bomb on the earth." And I said, "Well, what do you mean by that?" He said, "You not know half of the gas stations is run by Indians." He
Yeah.
said they can get one call and blow this whole place up. He
Oh, ain't
said,
no doubt.
you got a place that's got 10 gas stations right down the road from each other, and every one of them's run by Indians. Well, their head Indian guy, hey, I don't like what they're doing, blow it up. I said, I
I,
never thought of it that way.
look, I've been saying this for a while because it drives me crazy. There's only one gas station here that has Americans in Grove Hill, and that's the Circle K. And Circle K is a Canadian company, which I'm
Uh-huh.
okay with that because they
Yeah,
hire Americans and
yeah,
good company. And they're not, but like I've been saying this for a while is like yeah, a lot of them get free housing, free this, free that.
yeah,
But like what's to stop them from shutting down all the gas stations and cutting us off like a terrorist
yeah.
attack? And I
Just
ain't,
literally closing them up, blowing them up as far as that goes.
yeah,
That's like I was talking to a guy the other day. It was a black guy. He come by. He he. I don't know. He come up to me and he asked me. He says I want to ask you something. He told me his name. I can't remember it. He said, and he had a little pamphlet. And I kind of wasn't following what he was saying, but he asked. He said, "Who do you think is in charge of the world?" And my instinct, hey, God. God is in charge of the world. He said,
hmm,
"Are you sure?" I said, "Well, in my book, yes, he is in charge of the world." So you don't think that politicians and I said, "Well, now hold up." I said, "They may be in charge of that category of stuff." I said, "But to me, in my book, God Himself is in charge of this world." He said,
hmm,
"What makes you so sure of this?" I said, "Man," I said, I'm not. I said, "I'm not going to talk to you long on this." I said, "For the simple fact, I'm still at work. I'm on the clock, and you're up here in my boss lady's yard trying to talk to me, or my boss man's yard trying to talk to me about something that I go to church every Sunday, and you're trying to convince me that God ain't in charge of this world." I said, "I'm going to put it like this. You may think the politicians are in charge of the world. Sure, they control money, they control any other thing you do." I said, "But in my book, God Himself is in charge of this world because He can clap His hand tomorrow and everybody be gone." I
that's
said,
right.
"So
That's exactly
if
right.
you don't believe that, and you still want to believe the politicians is in charge of the world, go for it." I said, "I'm not much on reading the Bible. I'm not much on understanding the Bible. But from what I understand out of it, when the man comes back, he'll show everybody who's in charge." I said, "Now," I said, "I can pray to my government all day long and I don't get no help."
That's
I
right.
said, "Now I pray to my God and
Whew.
I start seeing little by little of Him hearing me and answering me."
You
I said,
preaching now?
"Yeah." I said, "Now you can't just say, okay, dear Lord, I wish you can help me do this." He's not going to say done. He's going to do it when He wants you to have it done or He wants it done. And I just told him, I said, "Look, man," I said, I don't want to hear it. I said, sure, the government may be in charge of things. I said, but in my book, God Himself is in charge. And he says, well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but he said, you need to think about that. And I said, I've thought about it long enough. About it now.
How's it going?
It's going all right, man.
All right.
So this is Jaron Tui. He's the one I was telling about earlier. He's the lead singer of Epigon, the Christian rock band. And you can see all the instruments in the background. This guy's
I was
like
looking at that. I was like,
multiverse.
man, that's a lot of nice guitars and all back there. I tried learning how to play the guitar a little bit, but it just didn't work.
Yeah.
You said they're what now?
Hold on. I said they're props.
Oh, they're props. Oh. Movie props. Yeah.
Yeah, they're those cardboard stand-ups. Make me look like I know what I'm doing.
Hashtag cardboard movie props.
Yeah.
All right, so
I'm tonight. What y'all been talking about?
Man, we've been talking about a little everything. We talked about Jesus in the Park, the event we did, and then we just got through talking about Jesus, talking about God's in control of everything, and that guy trying to convince him otherwise.
Try convincing me that the government and all is in charge. Yeah, they may be in charge of your money and all that, but your life and God is in charge of the world, if you understand what I'm saying.
He even says that he turns the hearts of kings in his hands like rivers, right?
There you go.
And all authority is given by God. He told Pilate that he wouldn't have any authority if it wasn't given by him, right?
Yes, sir.
Man, that'll preach. So I'm going to play this song, and I want Jaron to tell me what he thinks of this song. But it's called Dry Bones, which is done by J Truth and Redeemed.
All right.
And they performed this the other weekend at Jesus in the Park. But this is a fire song, so let me hit play.
Love it.
Yeah.
Where you at, Redeemed?
Amen.
Have you ever heard the sound of dry bones rattling? This is how it sounds. Have you ever seen a lame man walk or a blind man see where you're looking at him now? Have you ever had a friend closer to you than a brother tear the roof off and lower you down? I done seen a lot of things, I done ran a lot of game, I ain't never seen Jesus change. Have you ever heard the sound of dry bones rattling? This is how it sounds. Have you ever seen a lame man walk or a blind man see where you're looking at him now? Have you ever had a friend closer to you than a brother tear the roof off and lower you down? I done seen a lot of things, I done ran a lot of game, I ain't never seen Jesus change. Product of the struggle, try to get it out the hustle and let me nowhere fast. Sleepwalking through the valley of the bones, consequences of the choices may remind me of the past. Man, these thoughts like a vice sword to keep me under pressure, how long is your grace gonna last? They say your love runs deeper than the ocean and you cast my burdens from the east to the west. So I will call your name when the times are good and the times are bad. I know you sent these brothers to keep the iron sharp, and yeah, they got my back. And they don't hold my past against me, cause like me, they've been forgiven. All about the great commission, it's in Christ that I am living, it's in Christ I've been forgiven. Yeah. I got that resurrection power living inside of me. To live is Christ, to die is gain. I give you all of me. On the mountaintop, I will give praise to the one who rescued me. Jehovah Jireh, you're my provider. You give me everything. Have you ever heard the sound of dry bones rattling? This is how it sounds. Have you ever seen a lame man walk or a blind man see where you're looking at him now? Have you ever had a friend closer to you than a brother to the roof off and lower you down? I done seen a lot of things, I done ran a lot of game, I ain't never seen Jesus change. Have you ever heard the sound of dry bones rattling? This is how it sounds. Have you ever seen a lame man walk or a blind man see where you're looking at him now? Have you ever had a friend closer to you than a brother tear the roof off and lower you down? I I done seen a lot of things, I done ran a lot of game, I ain't never seen Jesus change. As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil cause the Lord be directing my steps. I take comfort in his rod and staff, and when I'm weak and can't breathe, the Lord gives me breath. Helmet of salvation, keep it strapped to my head. Breastplate of righteousness attached to my chest. Shoes of peace on my feet and I ain't got time to stress. Highly favored and I'm blessed by the best. I got some brothers that gon' tear through the roof, and you ain't gotta convince me God's real, I'm proof. Saving time convicted fella hit by his stripes. He told me 50 read the righteous when he laid down his life. When I was blind, couldn't see, the Lord gave me my sight. When I was weak and couldn't stand, the Lord taught me to fight. I done seen a lot of things, I done ran a lot of game, I ain't never seen Jesus change. And I got resurrection power living inside of me. To live is Christ, to die is gain, I give you all of me. On the mountaintop, I will give praise to the one who rescued me. Jehovah Jireh, you're my provider, you give me everything. Have you ever heard the sound of dry bones rattling? This is how it sounds. Have you ever seen a lame man walk or a blind man see? Where you looking at it now? Have you ever had a friend closer to you than a brother tear the roof off and lower you down? I done seen a lot of things, I done ran a lot of games, I ain't never seen Jesus change. Have you ever heard the sound of dry bones rattling? This is how it sounds. Have you ever seen a lame man walk or a blind man see? Where you looking at him now? Have you ever had a friend closer to you than a brother tear the roof off and lower you down? I done seen a lot of things, I done ran a lot of games, I ain't never seen Jesus change.
I ain't never seen Jesus change. Wow, we had 7 people here at one point. Now we're down to 5. Shout out to the 5 people.
Yep. I mean, that
What y'all
song
think?
right there, boy. I mean,
What
to
you-
me, you can hear a story in that song. I mean, both of them point blank saying, they're, I would say, somebody to be like that, blinded by the drugs and can't walk, the strength of the, not to walk. And he's basically saying, hey, look, God don't change, Jesus don't change. He's the same person, and he'll help you
Mhm.
through anything. I mean,
Amen.
you
What
gotta
up,
believe
JT?
in it.
How's it going?
What you
Hey,
say,
man.
So that's
JT?
Oh,
that's
it's
JT right there.
been a busy day. So,
Oh man, tell me about it.
Hey,
and
look,
then had
look.
puppies delivered. So,
Oh, well, you've been busier than a one-armed paper hanger with a case of the hives.
yeah, she started in labor last night, and the first puppy was, well, I went down to check, and there were 2 puppies, not one. And then every hour is like she was popping 2 out at a time, and so now we have 11
Oh, man.
downstairs. So. Yeah,
Oh,
11 Belgian Malinois at that. So in a couple weeks, I might have my hands full. So
Oh, yeah.
uh,
You gonna find some homes for them, or?
yeah. They're already being inquired about, which is a blessing. So,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
and I've been waiting. Well, I bred a couple months back, and she didn't take. And she took this time, and so we had 11 healthy puppies. So praise God for that. So
Yeah.
Amen.
yeah, and they were all natural. So yeah. Uh, So how y'all doing today?
Pretty
Doing
good.
dang near Skippy. I'm gonna find a song.
How's your niece doing, by the way?
She's doing all right. She was moved. Just for anybody who's in here who doesn't know, my one of my nieces was struggling with some mental health struggles and was getting suicidal. So we've been getting her help, and they moved her to a long-term facility over near Austin, Texas. I can't remember name of the town, but she's gonna be better cared for there. Pray for her mom because there's some family situation there where they're looking in to see if the kids need to be separated, and my parents are looking into how much involvement needs to be in there. So the situation might have gotten a little hairier just recently. Just pray that my sisters, just pray that they're sober, that their situation improves, that they're seeking the Lord. Because
Sure will.
ultimately, if they're not seeking God, then then you're chasing something else, and that's not going to satisfy.
Yep, it's like I would much rather be running to God in repentance than running from Him trying to hide something. Because
Yeah.
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 he tends to just get whatever you're trying to hold from him. Like he's
Oh
jealous
yeah.
like that, you
Yeah.
know.
He sees and hears everything. There's
Yep.
Yeah.
nothing you can hide from the man.
Yeah, he's
Right.
just sitting back there. He's like, "All right, you done yet?"
Yeah, there you go. Now, when you get done playing, I will show you what I can do. You know.
Right,
Right.
he's
Yeah.
just waiting for us to
Yeah.
realize. Like I
That's
think
it.
it's that it's the one song by Redeemed. Um the
Lay it
battle
at his feet.
the
Yeah.
battle and it says and I'm here to fix this broken mess like that
Yeah.
you created. You know, like and I was like, you know, that's me all the time. Most of the time, the
That's it.
messes I need them to clean up are the ones
Yeah.
When
that
you get
I
tired of
made the
trying, that's
biggest
it.
mess. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you
I
get
always go
tired of
back.
trying to do it by yourself, just lay it
Yep.
down and let me handle it.
Right. Because the
That's
more
my
you try
problem.
to
Is,
pick it
yeah,
up, just the
yeah.
Kids
dirtier it
always want to
gets.
be autonomous. They're
There
always
you go.
looking to see if they can do it themselves, but then they
That's
don't have
it.
the strength. They don't have that wisdom, you know. But
I
Yep.
kind
I always look at it from the perspective of God being our daddy, right? Like we're trying things on our own and we're stumbling all about like a kid trying to learn
Mhm.
how to walk, right?
That's
And a
it.
good father doesn't get angry with their kid just because they don't know how to walk.
That's it.
He'll
yeah,
pick them up, you know. But
I was my kid mowed the grass this week. Um and then like today, you know, all this morning the dog's panting like she's dying because she's in labor, and
oh yeah,
you know she's my problem child, and like it's kind of funny how like you know like God will give you a responsibility to take care of your
That's
animals,
it.
and like your love for your animals is pretty much like His
Mhm.
love for you, like. No
mm-hmm.
matter how many times my dogs go
Unconditional.
get in the neighbor's chicken coop or something like that, like they're still my problem, and I still gotta figure out how to manage them as best as I can.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah,
So God already
and
knows from the start. He doesn't
Yeah.
have
right,
to do much thinking.
and that was this morning. Like it got to be like noon, and there's still no puppies, and her temp dropped at like 11 o'clock last night, so. You just know that they're supposed to come in, and finally I just like I just because I've learned to just take my anxiety to the prayer closet and just
Yeah,
leave
There
it
you go.
there, and it was
yeah,
like God, like I got this anxiety of the worst thing that could happen, and God, like no matter what it is, like you got it under control, so I gotta
hmm
trust you and just be ready to like when you throw me in the fire, I gotta be ready to go
That's
through it,
it.
you know,
yeah,
kind of thing. But also, and like I think that when I and it was funny, like as soon as I dropped to my knees and like God, it's yours, like I go down to check and there's two puppies and then two more, you know, and it's
So,
just and it's funny because like how I was mowing the grass and I'm watching all these birds fly into my yard, and they're picking up the clippings, and they're taking it back, and they're building a nest and everything. And
mm.
you know, like the Bible says, not like they don't store up
Yeah. They're not
anything.
worrying about it. He
Nope.
already got
And
things taken care
they're
of.
praising God all day long. They're
Yes,
doing what
sir.
they're supposed to do, and they're just like, you know, when God gives them a worm, He's got a worm for them, or when He's got grass to build a nest, and they build
well,
a nest. And I
shout out.
thought like I thought that was content, and it was like a couple weeks ago. It was the same. Like, you know, you have those weeks where like you're praying to God, and it's like, is it just hitting the ceiling and coming right back, or what? And then I look, and there was a bald eagle flying through the orchard, and it scooped down and picked up this fish and went flying through like the
Whoa.
mountain hollow. And God kind of reminded me of that verse that, like, when you wait on the Lord, He'll renew your strength so you soar like eagles, you know. And that was kind of all that in a nutshell.
So shout out. What's the name of your business again?
Tupac Frenchie Kennel. So
Two Paul Frenchie Kennel. So, and if anybody needs any Frenchies, that's your man. He knows all about Frenchies.
yep, Frenchies and Belgian Malinois, and we had our first litter of Belgian Malinois today. So it's
Wow.
it's a little better because there was no C-section, so you don't have to worry about mom coming out of being out of it and having puppies. Sometimes they're nice.
Speaking of the way, how you say God, let God deal with it on his time. Mr. Jared, a while back, I told you with me and my little brother, with the accident, me and him had a fight and a bad argument, and we wouldn't speak. And I mean, it was to the point my own blood brother, if I was to see him in the store, both of us would turn and go the opposite direction to just keep from looking at each other. And I finally I broke down one night and I prayed and I told God, I said, look, I said, when you want it to happen, you will intervene on us. I said, so I'm giving all of it to you, whether he gives his to you, when you want us to be together or to see each other and speak to each other, you can handle it. And, I prayed on it for probably a good 2 or 3 weeks. And I was in Walmart one day and I was walking down the aisle and I heard somebody, hey, brother, how you doing? And I turned around and looked and it was him. And he was like, hey, I was like, I'm doing all right. How are you? And, it's like our argument never even happened. It's like we've been brothers from never had an argument, never had to fight. And, he's like, well, I'm doing pretty good working. We're going to grill some ribs or so if you want, And I was like, well, yeah, well, I'll come over. And like, I just hate that, and you see like that ordeal and you're like, and I try to tell so many people that, despise their family or, an argument or mad with them. Look, you're not guaranteed tomorrow.
Right.
They're not guaranteed tomorrow.
Yeah.
You can
Christ
wait.
commands us, be ye reconciled, right?
That's
It's
it. You
it's
can either.
funny because I've been studying Matthew 18, and that's like the biblical approach of how to approach your brother when he's sinning against you, right?
That's it.
And so,
Problem is, you got to be able to have that conversation. You got to be able to,
right? But
it.
so like, anyways, it says to go to your brother, and then you go to the church. But then the next step is like you treat him like a pagan and a tax collector. And it was funny. I didn't like, you normally study the Bible chapter by chapter, and we never study it as the whole book for what it was written in the context. And so it's interesting because a buddy of mine posted a scripture from Matthew 14, and it talked about Matthew's house out of all things. And like Matthew's house was like where he was reaching the pagans and the tax collectors, and he was sitting down eating with them and fellowshipping with them anyways. And it was like and like even you move on down, I think if you go down to like Matthew 19 or Matthew 20, like you go down to the you got to forgive 70 times 7. And it's not so we're like counting, it's so that like we forget that we gave grace. And like I think that was just it was just something that really stuck out in his word this week was like how so many times our flesh, like my brother, he's not listening, so I just want to write him off. And I've done that a ton. I have
Yeah.
a situation where,
Yeah, God's gonna remind us of when we did that to Him,
right.
That's it.
and knock us back a peg, right?
Yep. It's always it's like I think that's the other thing. It's like you read the Bible and you read the Pharisee and you're like, man, them stupid Pharisees always
Mhm.
criticizing Jesus
Well,
and
see,
stuff.
with my ordeal is, it was probably 5, 6 months. We didn't speak. We would walk a different way. If we see each other in the store, just hated to even look at each other.
I've been
And
praying for you, Erica, by the way.
we actually, like, through that month. That was the month of starting December. It wasn't even actually a whole month. We had a cookout that week before, and we actually kind of hung out a couple of days through the week. But it was, December the 11th of 2009. It's just a day that I won't never forget. And I try to tell people, look, you take for granted. I just didn't speak to my brother for like 6 to several months, and then we get not even a whole month together, and then both of us right there in an accident, and you wake up, and you got people telling you, your brothers done went home, and you're like, well, okay, how did he go home? I know he was worse than me, in this accident, because we was actually burnt. And
Mm.
Oh man,
I go on and go on, and it's like I told Mr. Jared, I literally laying in the hospital bed, seeing my brother standing there at the end of the bed, telling me, "Hey, look, God's got plans for you, and you need to get better and go home." And then I realized, hey, my brother didn't make it. You know,
Wow.
So I try to tell people, hey, don't take it for granted. You can hate somebody tomorrow, and then you got to live with the fact, if something was to happen to you and you didn't get a chance to say, hey, I forgive you, or forgive that person. Being family, friends. You may not like what that person's doing, but you got to love them.
right?
You
Yep,
got to.
and it even says, Jesus
That's
says, if
it.
we don't forgive, then how is He
We're
going
not
to forgive
forgiving.
us our sins? Because
How?
we're
That's
actively
it.
living, as we're unforgiving, we're actively living in sin with
Yes,
unconfessed
sir.
sin. So we got to
Mhm.
forgive. Like it's not saying that it's okay what somebody did to you.
Yeah.
It's saying that I'm gonna be like Jesus, and I'm gonna like give you the pass, because it says it's actually a gracious thing to look over a wrong, right?
Yeah.
And that pleases the Lord.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough too, because that means we got to swallow our pride, and we got to allow the character of God to shine in our lives.
That's it.
So here's a good message. So I always do these. I've been doing them for 2 or 3 years now, maybe longer than that. I do the what I call sign sermon of the week, and I post them all on my ministry page. I post them on my page too, and I'll share them. I did 3 yesterday because I had to go to Montgomery, and it's an hour and 30 something minutes, which is a long ways from where I work. So I had to go to Montgomery, and I love looking at churches that have these actual signs where you have to put the letters up.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times when churches like my church has one of the new signs, it's got the LED screen and it
Yeah.
talks about the events. Usually when you see a church like that, it's just got the events on there only. And then sometimes you'll see a regular old sign that's got the events, but I like the ones that put
They got
the
a message.
short sermon.
Yeah.
So I did 3 back-to-back sign sermons. One of them is sign sermon of the week. Why try to fit in when you can stand for Jesus? That's a good one. And then the other one, let's see, sign sermon of the week. Spring is here. Give God His flowers. That's great.
That's it. Yep.
But my favorite one that I saw on a church sign yesterday, and I like to tag the churches too if I can find them. But I was on the road and I didn't need to, uh, be. Anyways, so it says, this one says, science sermon of the week, hold on to God and God will hold on to you. So I made a Facebook story video of that this morning. You can see it on my story timeline. But that is so true. If you hold on to God, He'll hold on to you. But you have to hold on to Him first before He'll hold on to you. He ain't gonna hold on to you unless you hold on to Him. And so, whatever problem you're going through in life, you have to give it to God. You have to put it all on the table. The Bible
That's it.
says, don't give 2 and 3/30 seconds. He don't give 1 and 5 thousandths. No, you give everything to God. Some people think they can only give half the effort. No, it don't work like that, homie. It's like God says, homie, don't play that. He said, look, you got to give every bit of it.
He said, "If when you seek me, you will find me. When you seek me with your whole heart." Right?
That's where
That's it.
the like Good Samaritan story when the lawyer was questioning Jesus, like the Pharisee was kind of like he is asking Jesus, like, what do I gotta do the bare minimum to get to heaven?
Mhm.
Instead of
See, that
like,
reveals the state of his heart, right?
right, and that was my pastor was preaching on that a couple weeks ago, and that kind of brought that up was like,
Mhm.
when you seek with your whole heart and like the reality, it's like um where a lot of times like sometimes like yeah, I've learned that I've got to seek God for His will and not just my needs
Mhm.
all the
Yeah,
time too.
yeah.
You
I
got
heard it this way: is seek God's heart, not His hand.
You're right.
there. You go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell. That was his.
Is that who said that?
Yep.
Oh man. Yeah.
Very cool.
That's
Yeah.
like a guy I know. He tells you. He says, "Man, I pray for this, and I pray for that." You know, it's sometimes it seems like it's helping, and sometimes it don't. I was like, look, I'm like, how do you praise God?
Mhm.
Right.
Man, I thank Him. I said, all right. I said, now say your lights get cut off tomorrow. What you gonna do? You gonna pray for God, right? You gonna pray for Him to help you get your lights cut on. Then you get your lights cut back on. You're gonna thank Him. I said, I've learned, and the easiest way to do it is to praise Him for the good, the bad, and the unanswered. Because there's a lot of times the unanswered are the best
He's
things that you
protecting
could
you
ever
too.
have.
Yeah,
Preach. So
he'll
look,
be protecting you.
here's a story for you. Try not to go into too much, but so okay. So a while back, I applied for a job, a position where I work.
Mhm.
They were looking for a parts counter position, and I've got a sales certificate from Kennesaw State University. I completed their 3 salesmanship programs that they have. So shout out to Kennesaw State University for doing that program. So I graduated from that, or the online courses I took, and and then I've got many years sales experience. Like I've sold all kind of stuff. Like I got to the point to where I said I'm like my cousin. My cousin Todd told me one time he was at a car dealership. He said, Jared, he said, I'm so good at selling cars I could sell ice to Eskimos. And I said, dang, that's pretty good. So I done learned to be like that, and I can sell some stuff. And I'm not a bragging person, but that's it's my skill. I'm good at selling. I'm good at promoting an item, and like for instance, all right. So I got this stuff right here because I'm an auto detailer also. I got
Oh,
this
don't
stuff
you
made by.
tell me that. I don't have any money right now.
There you go.
Look, for the low price of 17.97, I can. But so this is stuff by Carbright called Element Shield, and I bought it from them because they make professional detailing products. And you put this in, like if you have a pressure washer and you buy one of those pressure washing cups that foam cannons that go on the end, you put this in there and you spray it on your vehicle and it protects your
Mhm.
finish. and I can go into detail how great this is, like it's American made, it's this, that. And I said, well, you know what? I said, I'm going to use my skills. And I knew they was looking for a position up there. So I spoke with the manager. I let it be known that I really, really wanted that sales position at the parts counter. And I said, man, I'm really good at this. I need a change. I need, give me a raise, everything. Well, I had the interview, and I told him, I showed him my 2-page list of accolades, different jobs I've had and stuff. I was like, I've built 3 websites. I've run all these social medias. I work at a racetrack. I do this, that. I listed all these things, and well, then the manager told me he was so impressed. It sounded like I was one of the top people that he interviewed. And he's like, "Well, you wouldn't believe it. Some of the people I've interviewed." Well, then um, I didn't get the job. Two people ended up getting the job. One person was there for a while. Then they got another person up there. And at first I was disappointed for various reasons. And then I said, well, you know what? I said I didn't get that job because God blocked that position because He's got something better for me. I don't know what that is. I have an idea what I'd like to do, but that was blocked for a reason why I didn't get that. And at first I was like super disappointed, and I had several reasons why. But then I started seeing it the other way. I said, you know what? No, no, no. Everything happens for a reason. So God blocked that for a reason. So I'm thankful that I had that opportunity. I'm thankful that the interview was so good that he was impressed, and that he was so highly impressed. Like and it just kept going on and on. I shook his hand. I said thank you, and so and now I'm actually thankful that I didn't get that because whatever he's got for me next is going to be 10 times better. So
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oftentimes we don't have our prayers answered because Jesus said, not what was it, James? He was saying the reason you don't have your prayers answered is because you plan to spend those selfishly on yourself. Like we're not seeking first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, so that then things can be added to us. We're seeking things to be added to us before we'll consider doing what we ought to for the Lord, right? And that reveals the state of our heart being like more for ourselves and not for God.
Right, because it's like if if I'm just praying, Lord, give me this, and Lord, give me this, but like I'm not worried about the people in my community around me. Like it doesn't like I worked suicide hotlines, and I worked at yes, I will be live tomorrow night as well. I just hopped on the hangout because I had time. Um, but what were we saying again? Sorry, my ADD.
Seeking first kingdom of God.
Right. When you're just seeking you and you're not like paying attention to people's needs, like it was amazing at how just listening to teenagers on Teen Hope Line tell me about how they cut and stuff like that, that I eventually became open to the kids in the corner wearing long sleeves all the time, even summer long. Like the
wow.
signs are there and they're asking for help, but sometimes like we're just so naive we don't know what to look for.
Well,
Yeah.
like my awesome new friend Kelly Dowell came on the show last week, and I think JT watched it. And he's the one that runs the Loxley Barn Ministry I started going to. And he talked about how he started his ministry, the Loxley Barn Ministry, because he prayed for God, said, "Hey, help me do this, help me do that." And he was looking for a job. He worked in the prison, and God said, "Well," he said, "not until you start a ministry." Well, he bought a church, and start a church. He said, no, that's not what I want you to do. He's like, you need to do what I want you to do. And God told him to start a barn ministry at his house, and he did. And because he listened and did what God told him to do, then God blessed him with what he asked for. And now they have 400 people. The most they had, he told me, they had like 600 something people at one of the ones last year. And they're expanding all the time. But he said, he told me on my show last week, you can go watch the replay. He mentioned that if he hadn't started the ministry, because he was starting the ministry he wanted to start. But until he actually did the ministry God wanted him to start, then it wasn't. And then it took off. I was like, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I
There's
think that
something about
oh, go ahead.
seeking God. When you're seeking God, and when you're growing in your faith and your love, he starts to transform what your affections are, right?
Mhm.
Like, so I might have certain desires, and I do believe that it is the Lord's. It does give the Lord pleasure to give us our desires of our heart, but He also wants to transform the desires of our heart to be righteous and to be good, to be what's trustworthy and true. And He says, think upon these things, right? So over time, the more we love God, the more our desires are going to transform. We're going to be more like Christ. We're not going to be asking for certain things.
I think my favorite verse from the Beatitudes, it's out of the Message, but it's you're blessed when you're at the end of your rope, for when there's less of you, there's more of God and His rule. And
Woo.
yeah, that one,
KJ52's got that song. That song, More of Me and Less of You, he does
Yep.
with Whosoever South.
yeah, and that's kind of like, for some of us that got, like, I was one of the ones that was stuck on stupid until I finally got broke, and then now God, you gotta fix everything. But that way was so much better than me trying to do it my way anyways. But like,
Yeah.
I mean, well, I'm in now. I've joined another, but I do two volunteer fire departments. I'm now in with my hometown here, and I'm with another in the country. And we went to a house fire one day. It's actually a woman and her three kids. They lost about everything they owned, and we had took up some donations, and I found some stuff. One of the kids was kind of close to my size, in shorts and stuff, and I carried him. Got a bunch of stuff up to carry to donate to him. I had seen a guy and was talking to him, and then I said, "Man, he said, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm going to carry these clothes over here to this woman and two kids that lost everything in the fire." And there was an older lady that was there. I was actually at the store, and she was parked there. And I said, "Well, yes, they lost everything they owned." And, she kind of walked up there and she hands me a bag and she says, "Here, take this." And I said, "Well, what is this?" And she said, "Well, it's actually what was going to be my supper, mine and my husband's supper." She said, "Even though it's just some chips and some ham," she said, "but, with what you just told him, God will provide better for us here." Like, well, okay, this will be greatly appreciated from him. And, the guy actually turned around. He said, "Why would you do something like that?" He asked the lady that. And she just point blank to me, it was the best message you ever heard. She looked at him and she said, "What would God do?"
Yep.
And he just kind of sat there and he said, "I don't know," got in his vehicle and left. Y'all know the next night we was going to his house.
Oh
Literally,
man, that man.
that same
Wow.
man. I looked at him and I
it's
said, "Now," I said, "What would God would have done?" I said, "Your answer would have been donated stuff or helped, and you might have been all right."
See,
But
imagine if she just sat there and she's like, "No, this is for me and my
yeah,
husband." Like the things that God uses to break through people's hearts,
yes,
like it's that little thing. Like we can't ignore those little nuances. Like you
I
never
think
know.
that
Like, but
that was one of the things this past week. One of our friends is a band and they're going on tour and they were asking for help for gas money. And I shared the post like maybe someone else will see it and they'll give, but like at the same time, like God had just blessed me abundantly with a huge settlement. So it was like, dude, why are you like? God was like, dude, I really just blessed you. So it's like you're sharing this post and you have the means to take care of what you're asking to be taken care of anyways. Like I need
no,
you to step up and be my hands and feet and do it. And I was like,
yeah,
yep, okay, Lord. So I did
mhm,
it. And the
yeah,
people sent me back a thank you. And, it was just, but I think that that's a lot of our community is like, we see the dude that asked for a ride or something. We're,
yeah,
the Bible said, or Jesus says, how we treat the least of these, we treat him.
yep,
And it's like, even though like there's days that like I see a dude on the side of the street begging, like he still sees the bumper sticker on the back of my car that says "Come as you are,"
there
even
you go.
though
mhm,
I'm rolling up the windows and I'm not. I got change in the car to give
yep,
him, but I'm not. And I'm not. And the only reason why I'm not gonna throw him my change is I'm scared what he's gonna do with it. Like, and it's not.
yeah. I got you.
Yeah, and it's like, and if God told you to give to him, like you're not
Who are
responsible for what
who
he
are you
does
to
with the
deny
blessing.
him? Yeah,
Right.
Right.
who are you to
Yep.
deny him? You
Yep.
know,
And
that's
it's
like
like,
take the
and
other
that's the
day.
thing. It's like my pastor said that he had a dude. He is pumping gas and having a bad day, but he had a Jesus shirt on. So my pastor paid for his meal and stuff. And then the next Sunday, that guy was at his church. So
There you go.
you know,
Well, like the other day, my wife like I told Jared, she works in Evergreen. She was on the way home, and we live in Georgiana, so you got Georgiana, and then you got going southward, you got the Grace and Garland exit, and she's coming from south, and she sees this little old lady walking up the other side of the road, which was probably about maybe 4 miles from the Georgiana exit going toward the store. So she goes all the way up to the Georgiana exit, turns around, goes back, and she says, well, "Excuse me, ma'am, what are you doing?" Little old lady. And she said, "There's people riding by, blowing the horn and waving like they know her, but wouldn't even stop." And she said, "I thought I could make it to the next exit, but I've run out of gas. And I'm trying to
Oh,
get
man.
to the gas station to see if I can find a gas jug." And she says,
Yeah.
"Well, I'll carry you." She said, "I'll call my wife. I'll call my husband. And, if he's got a gas jug, he'll meet us. We live right there off the interstate." So she did. I ain't have much gas at all. I mean, I'm on empty. So I said, "Well, I got $5 to my name till I get paid." I said, "I could tell my wife I don't have the gas." "No, I can't do it." Well, I don't even tell her nothing. I find myself grabbing a gas jug, putting it in the back of my truck, getting in my truck, going to the gas station. They come up. The lady asked me, "How much does the jug hold?" I said, "Well, it'll hold probably around $17 or so." She said, "Well, I'll put $10 in it. That'll get me on to the next station." I said, "Well, okay, if that's what you want to do." So, I put the $10 in the jug. I set it in the back of my truck. We go back. We get down there. There's a deputy sheriff there. Now, mind you, he's got the traffic moving over away from us while I pour gas in this vehicle. Huge blessing. I mean, because it's like car after car after car. But the way he's parked, they're moving over. They're giving me a whole lane to stand there and not have to worry about nobody hitting me. And then, I'm
That's
like, well, I
awesome.
got to, I mean, I'm like, I got to go all the way another 5 miles to the Garland exit, get off and come back to my exit. On empty and gas. What am I going to do? And I look at the police officer and he says, well, you in with the fire departments, ain't you? I said, yes, sir. I said, ain't there a turnaround spot up there? He said, yes, sir. He said, if y'all get in front of me, he said, and you wait, he said, I'll get the blue lights on. And he said, I'll get y'all turned around right there and get y'all back to the exit. I said, thank you.
Nice.
So we did. Little old lady, she was on her way. She thanked us. Well, I get to work. I leave anywhere from 4:30 to 5 o'clock in the morning. There's one gas station open, and I always stop at it. And I stopped, and I'm sitting there. I'm pumping my $5 worth of gas, and this guy comes up. Mr. Jared, I got me a little Jesus yesterday. I got a pile of them, but I got me one give to me. This guy pulls up, and he says, son, he said, it looks like you got something on your mind. I said, well, I'm on empty. I got $5 I'm pumping in my gas tank. I said, I got to go all the way to Lowndes County. I said, I don't think I'm going to make it home. I said, but I'm going to pray I do. He said, well, you look like you need a little Jesus. I said, man, I need Jesus every day. And he gives me one of the little Jesuses. And I'm hanging up the gas nozzle. He says, hold on. And I said, well, what in the world? And I'm standing there. I'm looking kind of crazy. I'm holding the gas nozzle. He comes back to the door. He says, fill your truck up, son. And I said, no, I can't do that. He said, yes, you can. He comes over there and takes the gas nozzle, sticks it in the gas tank, and fills my truck up for me. Now,
Wow.
I'm like, if this ain't a blessing and this don't show you, then y'all just need to open your eyes. And I got me a little Jesus. I said, man, I got 4 or 5 of these at home. And I said, my wife just ordered a bunch. He said, well, you keep that in separate. You put that in your pocket. He said, they always say you need a little Jesus. He said, you got you one with you every day now. I said, yes, sir.
Wow.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's like the scripture was talking about how the lady had no more flour to make the meal, and her son was sick, and God sustained her. It's like every day she went back and she put a dip down in there, and as she had that faith that she was going to draw it up, and there it was, right? Like, so, like, how often do we trust that doing that thing that's crazy to us? We don't think, like, we think in our human terms that giving that last penny, right, is going to be all there is to it. But then he's already got somebody on your way.
On the way, yes, sir.
Yep. And he already knows if we're going to be faithful to that.
Yes, sir.
So
that's awesome.
My granddad's always told me, do unto others as you would want others to do to you. If you're riding down the road and there's somebody walking down the road, do you want to pass that person up? Because mind you, that person could do you the same way.
Yeah.
I'm edgy. I'm not, and he probably gets mad at me. But when I stop and ask somebody every now and then if they need help, I'm not gonna lie. My hand's over here on my pistol. But
well, that's called discernment, man.
Discernment.
That was one of the things. When me and my wife were struggling, we'd be running low on bills or something, and someone from work would just give us a check, and they said, "This is a gift, but I'm giving it to you in faith that one day you're gonna be in the same position, and you'll help someone like I'm helping you." And so,
pass it on.
Yeah, and so I thought that was, and so now my wife and I have been in that position a couple of times where we've just been able to help someone else out, and
Wow.
it's like it's like what a blessing it is to go from. But Todd White said it best that we give because God gave to us first.
Yep.
And when you have that attitude, like you're like eventually, Malachi says to test God in this. It's the only place in the Bible he says to test him in it. But like,
I mean,
when you do, you end up in a giving match with him. That's all
yeah.
I'm gonna say.
I mean, I
So
always
there's a
tell everybody that you ain't never gonna outgive God.
That's
Nope.
I
right.
mean,
no,
this
no.
man give his only begotten son to die for us and our sins.
Oh, we
You
won't even come
can't
close to that.
do that. No, you ain't. You won't come close to it.
Mm-mm.
And you know,
So, I want to play a song here. So this is Jaron's band, Epigone. It's a song called Soapbox. So tell us about the song Soapbox and what it means.
Yeah. So soapbox is kind of so. It's a song about just like having a desire to be able to share with others. Like, but a lot of people, their ears aren't open. Like they're not.
mhm,
Yep.
You could be talking in one ear out the other, and a lot of people, like I have a line in the song that says they like you when you don't speak, right? Uh, a lot of people are zoned out. They're not hearing the things you have to say. They don't really care about the message that you got going on. But sometimes it's like that scripture. It says, I had this shut up in my bones, and it kind of burned within me, and I had to just get it out. Like, so really, the Spirit's inspiring us all the time to give to others and to speak to others. And it's like that fire inside our bones. If we keep it inside, it would eat us up. So that's what Soapbox is about, like having this desire to want to share, because there's a message that the Lord has given me to give to the world. So also it was also dealing with struggle of depression that I had at one point. And there's a point in there saying, like, if I'm unable to be able to speak out and tell somebody how I'm hurting, these feelings can get the best of me.
mhm.
And we can't allow that to happen. We can't let it says depression creeps on slowly as you search for what to say. You can't listen to these feelings or they'll steal your heart away. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. So speaking about
Wow.
give it to God, speak up for what's right. You never know who's listening.
So let me hit play here.
Bear with me while I try to find the words from deep within. It's something that I've struggled with time and time again. Depression creeps on slowly as I search for what to say. Can't listen to these feelings or they'll steal this life away. I wanna live. I'm fighting for a moment where my heart can find a voice. I feel it locked away inside. It never makes a noise. It claws beneath the surface, trying to get out. I hold it in 'cause I'm afraid I'd never be allowed to be myself. I wanna live.
speak. It's too much when you're on your soapbox, zoned out, not listening. I wonder if you felt the same. Your words mean a lot to me. I know it won't be easy. Speak truth, confide in me. All you want is someone who can understand the pain you're in before you fade away. Lost in a lonely nightmare, wondering who will save you now. Depression creeps on slowly as you search for what to say. Can't listen to these feelings or they'll steal your life away.
Awesome. I like that.
Man, isn't that good?
Awesome. Man, was
Look, and let me tell you, I've told this to Jaron before. Like, I can't name as of right now. I might could if I got tons of. I got close to 400 CDs right there behind me. But like, I can't name off 10 songs or artists. I know I know some because I listen to music every day. But that has a song that starts off and just changes up from slow to fast to medium to fast, slow to fast. Like, that was so cool how y'all did that. That's why I love that. One of the reasons I love that song so much. It starts off kind of slow, then medium tempo, then it gets fast. It gets fast and super upbeat. And then if you notice at the end of the song, it it woes it down, Wody, and goes back down slow again. I love that.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah,
That's
that was a funny one.
multi-talented when a band can go that many styles in one song. That's cool.
I appreciate it. Anything stick out to y'all in the song lyrics or anything that
man,
struck y'all?
man. Yeah. Talking about, don't hold nothing in. Talk about it because it's going to eat you alive.
It will, yeah. Yep, whether that be something that you're going through, if you try to hold it in, it's going to do that. Or if God's told you to say something and you're holding it in because you're afraid of what people are going to think, don't hold it in. You got to do it.
That's like my brother. Mr. Jared, remember me telling you about my brother, Andrew, bad on drugs. And he really got to a point to where it was real bad. And we was over here one day and we was having a barbecue and he come up. My dad was here and he had actually come up and he sat over there beside my dad for a little while and then he was like, "Well, Daddy, can I borrow $20?" And my dad, he spoke his mind, whether it was you was his son or what. He spoke his mind. And he literally told my brother, he said, "Look," he said, "I'll let you borrow the money, but if I wake up and catch you taking money out my wallet again, he said, I'm going to stab you in the heart. He said, son, I'll help bring you in this world. I'll help take you out this world. That was his
Mm,
favorite word.
Huh.
And, that was on a Sunday. Valentine's Day was the following Monday on that February. And, they left, went home, afterward. Well, actually, my brother left. My dad stayed. He eat. And then, he ended up leaving. And, I get my mom and them, they come to my workplace the next day and says, hey, look, she's like, hey, look, you need to come get in the car. And I'm like, well, no, I got to work. And she's like, look, I done explained this to your boss. They said you need to go. So I walked in there and I looked at my boss and he's like, look, you need to go. Go. I said, okay. So, we get down there and all, and then my dad, he's gone. And I got my brother standing there telling me, well, they say he died in his sleep. Hey, if that's the way it is, then that's you know, I would say that was the best way to go. Is go to sleep, not wake up.
man.
And he just kept telling me that, and the ambulance people actually told me that's what it was, the coroner, and they was like, well, you want to do an autopsy? And I said, well, I can. And they's like, well, you got to have, you and your brothers got to be willing to do it. Well, he wasn't willing. He was like, just leave it alone. They said he died accidental. Let's just leave it like that. Well, I did. And then, my brother from that day just got worse. I mean,
Man.
talking to himself, doing drugs. He done started shooting up, just whatever he can get to get him a high. And we actually come close to fist fighting one day, and he, you know, Mr. Jared knows the guy. His name's Bo Bale. He opened a Christian-based rehab center down there in Bruton, built it from the ground up. He actually got Andrew in it. It was called New Beginnings. We actually got Andrew in it because I called the law one day or I actually take that back. The chief of police actually called me and he said, hey, look, he said, your brother just come from a place he don't need to be. I said, well, look, I mean, I've tried talking to him. He don't listen to me. I said, look, he's going to end up dead or killing somebody. I said, the best
Yeah.
thing you can do is I'm going to tell you like this. I don't care if you got to go to your brother's house or whoever's house that might sell drugs, get something, plant it on him, put him in the jail, let him stay. He says, well, I'm going to go talk to him. So he went and talked to him. He called me back 30 minutes later. He says, look, he said, we didn't have to do anything like that. He had drugs on him. He said he had fentanyl on him.
Yeah.
He had paraphernalia. He's fit to be gone. Not counting the bank was pressing charges because he done stole my mama's whole income for 2 months out of her account. So he they made a deal with him. He could get help and go to rehab. The bank could drop the charges. He has to pay the money back, and the judge will, drop charges. But he has to get help, get clean, and he has to stay clean. So we actually got him in the rehab center with the guy and all, and take for grant it was last Easter, I believe it was. Mr. Bow had passed. We went that following Saturday to his house and was talking to him. I actually picked my brother up. We rode over there, talked to him, for a good hour or so, and we got ready to leave and walked outside and got in the truck. It was on me. It was just I could feel something saying, "Tell him." So I finally I broke down. I looked over there. And I said, "Andrew," I said, "I want to tell you something." I said, "But know this, brother." I said, "I've done it out of love, and I love you.
Mm-hmm.
But you remember the day you went to jail?" Yeah. I said, "I sent you there." I said, "The police called me. I told them to go talk to you and take you to jail, no matter what they had to do." He kind of sat there for a minute, and He turned around and looked at me. He said, "Brother," he said, "I don't hate you." He said, "I love you." And he said, "That was the best thing you could have ever done to me." I said, "Well,
Yeah.
I just wanted to clear that." He said, "Well, I thank you for it." I said,
Yeah.
"Okay." So I went to turn the key over to crank the truck, and he said, "Hold on before you leave." I said, "Well, what is this? What's wrong?" He said, "I'm going to tell you the same thing." He said, "You can love me or you can hate me." He said, "I am not going to blame you." He said, "But I have done asked for forgiveness. I've talked to God." He said, "I'm in church." He said, "I feel that God has forgiven me. I feel that the other person has forgiven me. And if they hadn't, that's my problem. It's not yours." He said, "But I want to clear this up." I said, "What is it, Andrew?" He said, "I killed her daddy." I
Man.
said, "What are you?" He said, "Well, do you remember my daddy telling me that day that if he woke up and I was taking money out of his wallet again, he was going to stab me?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, he woke up Sunday night at 12 o'clock. I was standing there taking money out of his wallet. And he reached over to grab the knife beside his bed. And he said, Banu, I jumped on him and smothered him to death with a pillow." I
Man.
said, "Well, you know," I said, "Andrew," I said, "I can't hate you for it." I said, "Because I can hate you and not forgive you, and then I got to go through life knowing I'm going to be hated and not forgiving myself." I said, "So, I appreciate you being honest with me. I'm going to love you no matter what. You're my brother." And, we still talk. He's this will be 2 years clean, and
Wow.
he can read you the Bible from front to back without ever even looking at it.
Yeah.
And the way I see it, that's not my problem. I'm not gonna have to answer for his sins. He's not got to
Yeah.
answer for mine. So
Yeah.
I'm
Paul was a murderer, and God turned his life around and used him mighty in the Lord, right?
that's it.
So,
And
like,
with that song, that being, that's basically telling, I basically felt like, that's what he was going through dealing with killing my daddy. It was just eating him, and he didn't know how to talk to nobody about it and all that. I mean, yeah, I mean, that was an awesome
like
song,
getting
man.
deeper into that been his only comfort at the time. I heard it this way: is that don't ask why the addiction, ask why the sorrow. You
Sorrow.
know,
Sorry.
because it's most times it's just comforting something that somebody doesn't know how to deal with.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
getting to the root instead of just dealing with surface
Yep.
issues.
yeah. Well,
Yep.
brother, to be honest, after he discussed it, brother Mr. Bo, he called me. It was probably 4 or 5 hours later. I just got home, and he said, "Hey, he said God has laid it on my heart to tell you this." He said, "I'm not supposed to, because being that I was the one that helped your brother, and he was in my rehab center, even though it's not opening." He said, "I still feel that it's a patient and like therapist confidentiality deal." He said, "But when it gets laid on your heart to say something about it, who are you to?" He said, "I can't refuse my God." And he said, "I just
Yeah.
want to ask you if Andrew has talked to you." And I said, "Well, yeah, he talked to me a little bit." He said, "Well, about what happened with him?" And I said, "Yeah, about him killing my." He said, "Okay." He said, "I guess God just laid it on his heart to admit it to you, but he told me I needed to tell you. So I'm not going to deny my God, even though I ain't supposed to tell you because I was his person to talk to and confide in, but I'm not going to deny God in telling you so." If
Yeah.
he's told you, then fine.
Yeah.
Good.
So, some of the most profound, like, kind of moments where God has been able to turn somebody's life around is in those confessional moments, just to being able to say something without having somebody just
Yes, sir.
like throwing the law on you, or like it's stuff. Like I think about it, and I think about how blessed my
Man,
life is. And I might have been in the same spot, because if the things I was doing when I was younger,
Yes, sir.
I need to go to jail for,
for
but
me,
Oh,
I had 4 pounds in the house, and I had family people just kind of sit down, like, look, like, you're kind of putting your family at risk. And they say your family, like, they basically gave my family uh 30 days to leave, where they were calling CPS, so they had no choice but to leave my house. And then I was basically like, they left me and God. And as and I think that that's kind of like, it's the beauty of the testimony, because it's the most beautiful thing that they could have done. But so they left me with God, and then God was like, dude, well, first of all, my family, like, they knew that I was using cannabis for medical use, so they didn't care if I had cannabis. They just didn't want the excessive amounts that, put my family in danger,
yeah.
And so at first, I hid it in the attic, and my wife and kids were gone. But that night, I had a dream that my wife came home, and later on, my house would get raided, and that I told my wife that the house was empty, and the house gets raided, and they find what I hid. I'm in big trouble for lying.
Yep.
So the next day, God said, like, hiding the weed was damage control. I need repentance. So I put it all in the fire barrel, and I burned it, all 4 pounds.
Wow.
About $8,000 worth of weed.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, and he didn't stand there.
right. It's like, I
Yeah, he'd been
mean,
talking to Elvis if he just stood
I just
there.
warned the
He
neighbors.
I
probably
thought
If
you
you
been
were
just,
talking to God.
building.
He'd be
yeah.
like, thank you very
But I
much.
mean, it kind of like, what pissed me off was, like, I went to tell the church folk that I repented and turned, and they didn't, like, they thought my motives were just to get my family back, and it was like,
Yeah.
dude, like, y'all, like, really forgot the power of Almighty God when it's
Yeah.
just a broken person, and it's just them and God, like.
Yep.
He has a way of just grabbing that person and cleaning them up.
I'm
It's
still
just,
So
trying now. I mean, I got two siblings that are struggling. One of them has been strung out methamphetamines for 20 plus years, and just in the past couple of years, she's trying to really dig into her faith and trying to clean up. But it's a struggle, and there's relapses. And just loving her through
and
that.
I think the biggest key that I've learned is that, like, I'm gonna say this carefully, because I don't want this to come out like the wrong way.
I'm not
But
easily offended, so
right. Well, I know that there may be people, but
uh,
sobriety isn't God. So,
right.
like, and
That's
I
not the
think
end
that
goal. Yeah.
I think that that's, like, the biggest issue is, like, when I was a young kid and I got sent to Teen Challenge, like, you're just so focused on not relapsing that, like, hey, I'm doing good if I don't relapse. Well
Right. Well,
then,
the problem is you're
the
trying to focus
problem
on the
is like,
problem.
4 years down the road, I'm not cussing, I'm not drinking, but I'm not spending time with God. I just learned how to be a righteous person, per se, and
Mhm.
it really isn't righteous, but it's like, eventually, the day happened to where I needed pain pills, and it's like, now what am I gonna do? And it's like, you know what? Like, your identity isn't wrapped up in a substance or anything. It's wrapped up in the Creator Himself, and it's like when you grasp that, the freedom comes, and then like the pressure to live sober is no longer. And
Right.
it's
So
Yeah.
it's not that and that's the freedom in Christ that people like. It's almost offensive to people, you know.
Yeah, it's because
so
they ain't living it and they don't understand that struggle.
That's
But
it.
like
Yeah.
when all that focus is on trying to not mess up, you're gonna mess up. The problem is
Right.
we were told to keep our eyes on Christ and keep Him our prize, right? Chase after that. When you're trying to chase after sobriety, you're trying to chase after that, you're gonna find the end of your rope because you're working in human power. But when you're
Yep.
Right.
chasing after God, you're filled with the Holy Spirit and you have His power empowering you to overcome, right?
Yeah.
So that's the
so
only time we're gonna find the progress that we
I
want to
think
find.
it's kind of just learning to kind of give yourself grace to screw up, but like I guess I think that this was like my biggest issue with like Teen Challenge, for instance, is like someone goes through the program, they complete Teen Challenge, they go home, and then they relapse, and then Teen Challenge is like, oh, you relapsed, now you gotta start all over. It's like because I relapsed, my whole progress didn't stop just because I relapsed. Like,
Yeah.
and I think that like that's like that's the trick that the devil likes to play on us,
Right.
because like when it's performance driven and you're just aiming for the clean days, well, now I blew up my clean day, so now let's just go at it.
Yeah. I remember
so
struggling with stuff. Oh yeah, what's up?
so
Yes.
I got a song I'm gonna play in a minute.
Yeah.
Last song I'm gonna play. But I'm a huge ASAP Preach fan, and you can ask my buddy Cliff. Like I nerded out when I met him. I was like, oh my gosh, this is ASAP Preach. That's my dude right there. And this guy, just like me, he's younger than me. He's like, wow, this guy's a redneck rapping on stage about Jesus. He had on camouflage pants. I was like, man, this guy's cool. And like, he has a song, and he debuted it the night the only concert I've seen him at, and it was at the Outreach at the Beach event. And he debuted a song called Club. And if you go on his YouTube, he's been doing music since 2015 or so. He's been doing it so long, he's already got a documentary on his music and himself. Well, in his documentary, he talks about how he went to prison for a little while. He was a drug dealer, selling drugs and doing all kinds of stuff. Well, he became a bouncer of a club. And the reason why he became a bouncer of a club is so he can get access to alcohol. And, he's like, hey, this is a free way to get alcohol. Well, and this song Club is about that. It tells the story about what he went through. And there's a video. If you watch the music video, it's really good. It's a short song, but it tells such a powerful story. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and play that. Y'all tell me what you think.
All right.
Club.
To everybody at the club, to everybody getting drunk at the party. Deep down, you were searching for some love. You won't find it in the liquor or the molly. You don't need to get drunk at the club. You will never fill that void with some drugs, no. But I show you where the love at. Jesus Christ, no other name above that. Take them drugs back. Find Christ, take Jesus for the plug at. Tell the truth, tell them where you found that lover. And before Jesus come back, hopefully your blood will run back to him. Gotta be ready for you come back soon. When the soul gets saved, man, I love that tune. Till the moon turn red like a big bad boom. Got a chance to make it right, gotta make that move, move, move. hands to the side, so come back to him. To everybody at the club, to everybody getting drunk at the party. Deep down, you were searching for some love. You won't find it in the liquor or the molly. You don't need to get drunk at the club. You will never fill the void with some drugs, no. But I show you where the love at. Jesus Christ, no other name above that. Payback. Devil playing games, I don't play that. The battle was won when Jesus came back. Sin at a price, I'm amazed that he paid that. Take that chain back, Holy Spirit break that. You can have a new start, be set free. Just let him in your heart, just breathe. You've been trying to run far, he ain't leave you. Got his arms open to receive you. I don't need to be drunk, I don't need a cup of lean, I don't need drugs, no. Now I operate in peace and love. Now I wanna live my life like Jesus does, yeah. To everybody at the club, to everybody getting drunk at the party. Deep down, you were searching for some love. You won't find it in the liquor or the molly. You don't need to get drunk at the club. You will never fill the void with some drugs, no. But I show you where the love at. Jesus Christ, no other name above that. Jesus Christ, no other name above that. Jesus Christ, no other name above that.
So he shared that story of why he wrote that song, how he used to be a bouncer in a club, and then he tells a story on his documentary on his YouTube. But what y'all think about that?
I like that. Yep.
I love it.
So
Really
you
good
don't-
message.
You don't have to run to those things in order to find what your heart's been trying to look for.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What you think, Joseph?
I like it, and I mean, I want to have an intake on something and get your opinion of it. I went to this church at one time, and the preacher, I thought was a real good guy. I've done a lot. I've done a lot for him. Between, if he needed something worked on, I done it, helped him out. And he always got up there and preached about, telling you that you have to cut your bad people away from you. Now, no lie to nobody, I used to do marijuana, cocaine, and I had, Mr. Jared, the color guy I was telling you about, it's like my brother. I mean, me and him used to do it all the time. And, he was so much of a good friend to me that, I'm like, I can't cut my friend loose. I don't want to not be friends with him because of what he does. And, I used to hear that this preacher used to get up there and, to me, I always felt like he called me out or he was calling me out because he'd get up there. Well, if you hang around your friends that you used to drink with and smoke pot with and do coke with, and you still hanging around them, then that means you have not quit nothing, and went on and went on. I just listened to it. But, to tell you that, and the way I thought of it is, the guy that is like my brother, he seen what I was doing. So, if he come over to see me, he would not come over smelling like it. He would not come over, and if he come over, he would not say anything about it. Marijuana, cocaine. He would not even talk about the drugs. And, went on. I seen his wife one day in the store, and she was like, hey, I don't know what you got going on with my husband, Big D. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, look, she said he don't hardly do no drugs no more. He works, stays home, and, or he comes over to your house. Well, he something happened and we didn't talk for a little while, and I kind of seen him. He come over and was asking me to help him fix something, and he was talking about, hey man, I was smoking some marijuana yesterday, and that led to hitting the line of coke, I was like, well, man, I don't do none of that no more. And, it just kept playing in my head with the preacher telling me, well, you got to cut him a loose. You got to cut him a loose. And then, I go in and I feel that, who am I to cut him a loose if I could help him? So, it went on another couple of days. I just, hey,
Yep.
man, what are you doing? Nothing. I ain't doing nothing, man. Well, you want to ride over, man? We'll see if we can't find something to work on or something. And I mean, he come up, seen his wife yesterday in the store. She said he's been drug free since me and him hang out. He's in church on Sundays now. And,
Wow.
I mean, was I in the wrong for not cutting him a loose, knowing that he, was
Oh,
a bad influence to me?
Well,
I think that there's a point to it. Like, um, 18-year-old me, graduated Teen Challenge. It wasn't smart for me to come back home and be around my old friends. And I wasn't ready to be around the environment that I grew up in.
Yeah.
But eventually, like, God cleaned me up, and like my heart bleeds for like my friends that I used to run with. And like there's friends of mine that like there's one friend of mine, like, man, we were brothers, like we were partners in crime. We did everything. And like um I watch his Facebook, and I just root from him from afar, because I know that like me and him, we just weren't we weren't good. We weren't a good match together. We
Yeah.
just got in trouble together.
mm-hmm.
And so I just pray that he can watch my testimony from
Yeah,
afar, because I know personally, like when me and him get together, it's not good for me or him. And
yeah,
so out of love, I stay away from him, and he stays away from me, and there's like a mutual respect. But there's also brothers that like I feel I'm called to reach, and like, to some degree, if I mean, honestly, I feel like if I don't reach them, like the church isn't speaking their language. And like, that's not to be ignorant at the church, but that's just how it is. Like, God
yep.
cleaned me up for a reason. So I don't think you were in the wrong. I think it's a Holy Spirit thing, and that
mm-hmm.
sometimes, like, even Jesus didn't do miracles in his hometown.
Yep.
Well, the preacher got he don't even talk to me no more.
Yeah,
He like once, he seen me and him in the store one day, and he kind of looked at me and he pointed at him, and he went on and got him some oil because we was gonna change the oil on lawnmowers and four wheelers. And the preacher walked over there and he's like, "Hey, man, I mean, you got to cut your bad people away from you." And I'm
I
like,
think
"Well,
that that's the thing too. Like, it's like if we cut out the world completely, like Jesus would have never cut out the world.
I mean, that's what
Yeah.
I was wanting to tell him so bad. Would Jesus have done it? You know,
You
And
know,
Right.
see,
literally,
and
he don't even talk to me. I can see him in the store now, and he'll just walk the opposite way.
and
you
see,
know, and so what's he doing? Because you ain't exactly doing the wrong thing, and he's cutting you out. So like the way I would say is like there's a couple things. If you look at a target, there's the inner circle, there's little circles on the outside,
On
right?
out,
And where you want to be is in that inner circle with Christ. You're going to have some people that are close in. Those are the people that you can have around you. Those are the people that are going to be keeping you accountable in the faith, and that you can. But on the outside circle, are the people that you're discipling, are they going to be in your inner circle, like where you have your mighty men? We were talking about that one day. Our mighty men are our inner circle. And then we got those that we keep at certain distances, because bad company does corrupt good morals, but also good company helps give good morals, right? So
Mhm.
people need to be be able to be reached by us. Like if we cut them out completely, then we are not even witnessing anymore. That's
And
kind of
look,
like saying that you can't have no one in your life except for perfect people. That's not
and
going to work.
and here's
There's
something.
no perfect people. Nobody is
Yes,
perfect.
Right.
and here's something to
I
think
mean, I
about.
feel that way.
Um,
Everybody else, I have had people say different, but I feel that,
Mhm.
there is not the only perfect person is the
with
man that we're
Jesus,
serving.
Jesus
I
Christ.
think
Yeah.
and you and
Brandon.
people put people. I mean, God puts people in our life for a reason. And I know you're not supposed to hang out with people that do this, do that, do
Yeah.
whatever. But also, because I mean, you don't want to become like they are. But also,
Yeah.
you can still be friends with them from afar.
Right.
But let them see Jesus in you, because He puts people in our
Yeah.
life for a reason. So that preacher telling you to cut them off, that's kind of messed up in my opinion, because now he's doing the same thing to you, and you have to, like, people. You'd be surprised who watches what you do. Like, I got 4 people watching my live right now. I cannot believe 4 people are watching my live, like a 3-hour live. That's just blows my mind. But
Right.
I know Erica's one of them. Jason maybe the other. I don't know who the others are. Oh, now it's showing 6. You never know who's watching what you do or what
Right.
you listen to. So you got to be careful who you cut
Yeah.
off and who you don't.
I think
You know,
what it really comes down to, if I'm sitting here thinking about my life and like if I'm going to get around somebody, and every time I get around that person, I get to a certain point and I'm like, yeah, okay, slide me a little bit of that,
I think
like then that, not to say I can't see them ever. I can't ever sit down in a coffee shop with them. Hey, catch up, how you doing? But if I'm sitting there at their house and they're always trying to slide me something, then I got to have the discernment to say, hey, brother, I love you. Like I'll still meet up for lunch with you, but I'm not going to be hanging out in this setting because I have to be above reproach. I have to be in a way where where like the Lord tells us to keep ourselves in a way where nobody could even think to accuse us of some of the things,
right.
So we got to
There's
keep boundaries that keep us safe, but we don't have to be legalistic about it, and we don't have to be hateful and push people completely out because of those things. Those
what's up,
people make
Andre?
I
But
was gonna say
I felt that, when he come around me, I felt that he wasn't harming me because he never mentioned it. He never, never had it on him. And, it was always, well, if we got to working on something, laugh and talk, and it wasn't, what we used to do, it was about what we was doing. I
I
felt that
think
there
the
was
key
no
was
pressure.
is the Lord gave you discernment through the situation
yeah,
too. Like I think if you would like you
Yeah.
saw in his heart that he was genuine and trying to
yeah.
change. And I
See,
think that sometimes like a lot of times unfortunately the church like I think we read a book and we sometimes we judge way too quickly
Yeah.
rather than and that was I watched I think is Brandon Lake and he was talking with this young preacher dude, but they were asking him about what he learned through the Jelly Roll experience,
mm,
and his quote was talking about Jelly Roll and how Jelly Roll had wished that had the church had been more patient with him, he may have never left in the first place.
mm,
And
Yeah.
he might even be further down the road now than what he is now.
yeah.
And that,
There's
and I, yeah, and I think that that's kind of the big picture is like God's working on a relationship with these
yeah,
people, and that's the. I think we got to remember that like we don't want to misrepresent what that relationship to him might be because there's people that aren't Christians because they've met him just Just as there are people that are Christians for meeting them too.
Yeah. I I got up. Um,
You did what now?
I have a verse to challenge y'all with. It's a parable that Jesus told, and this is me thinking about the church and thinking about like how Jesus would choose and invite. Um, he said, also to the man who had invited him, when you give a dinner or a banquet, do not invite your friends or your brothers or your relatives or rich neighbors, lest they also invite you in return and you be repaid. So it's not to be repaid. But when you give a feast, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed because they cannot repay you, for you will be repaid at the resurrection of the just. So, what I'm getting at is the Lord has people he wants to reach. He said, I did not come for the well, but I came for the sick. He came to bind up the brokenhearted. He came for those who are imprisoned and in chains so that he could break their chains. He didn't come for those who think they got it all together. He didn't come for self-righteous people who can't drop their pride and listen to the instructions of Christ. He came for those who are hurting and seeking for some help. And so that's what the true church is going to be filled up, is a bunch of broken people that can be honest about themselves, that can admit like this, how we're talking like brothers, saying we got struggles, we got people in our lives, we got all these things that have happened, but we love Jesus Christ.
Mhm.
You
Yep.
know?
And that's
Well,
kind of that's been the
I can.
biggest beauty of what he's taught me the past 2 years. I moved from like a, a like bigger town, so we had a lot of big like kind of casual churches, and then he pulled me out and put me in a like old backwoods, like maybe 20 people, and but like in that old backwoods, 20 people like we're praying for one another.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we're sharing each other's burdens. Like that church is blessed. It
Well,
blesses everybody's needs, and like God is like, it's like God took me from like the American church, and like He showed me like, if you're not looking at the people, you neglect what the church is altogether, anyways.
yep.
You see, with this, I don't go to this church no more. And there was more to it. We showed up. It was on a Father's Day, and you know, I wasn't dating this girl, but literally, I just got a divorce, probably 2 weeks, signed divorce papers, was divorced, done went through the judge. He done said divorced. It was not on my terms. It was on her terms. She was cheating on me, and you know, long story short, anyway, I was in Walmart, and the woman I'm with now, she was with me. We was just friends. We never stayed with each other. We'd go and you know go to a store or something. If she was around and I needed to go to the store, I'd ride with her and so on. And we was in Walmart one day, and he was there as the preacher. He knowing that I just got out the divorce, and he said, "Who is this?" And I introduced him. I introduced Angie, my wife, as a friend. I was like, "This is a friend of mine," and she don't have nobody to hang around with. She's wanting somebody to just kind of hang around, talk with, not somebody that wants to party all the time. So we just kind of hang around with her family and all. We just talk and all. And he said, "Well, do you go to church anywhere?" And she said, "No, I'm trying to find a church to get into." He said, "Well, I got a good one. Come to our church." And I mean, he invites her to church. So we go to this church, and she don't want to just go sit anywhere. She's comfortable sitting there with me. She had her grandkids with her, and we was there one Sunday having good church service. We got ready to leave, and he invites her back. So she says, "Hey, next Sunday I'll go back to church with you again." That next Sunday was Father's Day. Well, now my ex-wife also went to this church. She was not there that day, and she was not there the next weekend that we went, which was Father's Day weekend.
Hmm.
And you know, I do have some family that was at the church. They kind of told me and said, "Hey, look, we got a good Father's Day thing planned. When we call fathers, you be sure to stand up." I was like, "Well, okay." So I was talking with everybody and shaking everybody's hands. The preacher walks over there and he says, "Hey, can I see you in my office for a minute?" I said, "Yeah." And I go into the office with him. It's him and another guy that's sitting there. And he says, "Look," he says, "do you know what you're doing is against God's religion?" I said, "Well, what am I doing?" He said, "You're committing adultery." I said, "Well, me and this woman ain't together. We're friends. If you're telling me I can't have a woman friend to talk to, then and here you are going around hugging this woman and this man's wife and talking about how y'all friends." I said, "You talked to my ex-wife on the phone for hours, and then finally ask how I'm doing or where I'm at. So you're sitting here accusing me of adultery." He says, "Yeah, and I don't like that at my church." He said, "So we're going to relinquish your membership. You can still come to church, but you're no longer allowed into the meetings." And I asked him, I said, point blank, I said, "Does the church committee or the church council know what you're doing?"
Right.
"We have
Just
not
have the
discussed it."
accountability.
That's
Yeah.
it. Well, I said, "That's fine. If that's what you want to do, that's fine." So I go back out there, and this Angie, the girl, she looks at me. She says, "What is wrong with you?" I said, "Wait, no, there ain't nothing wrong with me." She says, "Look, I have seen you time after time." She said, "But you are as red as a red hot cayenne pepper right now." I said, "No, I don't want to talk about it." And they called for the fathers to stand up, so I stood up. They sung a song to us, and they said, "Okay, y'all can maybe be seated." So we sat back down, and I look over here at this preacher now that's supposed to be helping people, not putting them down. I'm thinking about what he told me about my friends. Now here you are accusing me of adultery, and you know you want to accuse me of all this. And I said, "Your own family don't even come to church with you. Your daughter drinks every weekend. You got one daughter that's a model. What do I do?" And they call for Father's Day fathers to stand up again to receive a gift. I sit there, and Angie, she looks at me. She says, "Are you gonna stand up? You're a father. You stand up." I said, "No, I'm not gonna stand up." She said, "Why?" I said, "Better. I'm gonna do something better." She said, "What's that?" I said, "I am being told to get out this church. So let's get our stuff and let's leave." So we got up, we got everything, we left. And you know, I felt very uncomfortable
Yeah.
when you called me in there and accused me of being an adulterer. And like nice big fancy church. I go to a church now that's probably got 10, 15, maybe 12 people in it every week. But there's two signs on the front door that says "Sinners Welcome." and they make us feel home. Matter of fact, we I mean, we enjoy it. We love being there. And yes, me and her, we did end up getting together. I
Yeah.
mean, but
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I've learned is like, man, now I've got two little girls, and like her best friend is at church every Sunday and they look for each other. And so like it's like for me not to go to church and not to bring my family to that, like I'm breaking up this like such a beautiful ordained like relationship by God that my
yeah.
daughter has developed. And it's like, man, like they know about my past completely, that and other people have said like if you show up at my door there's gonna be handcuffs because of the same past. So and it's like, sadly that's not God's grace. God's
Well,
like
I did kind of, well, I take it back. Before I left that day, I did kind of stand up because they had asked, one of the ladies, she's known me all my life. And she
right.
she looked at me, and when she didn't see me stand up, she looked at me and motioned for me to stand up, and I shook my head no. And before we did get up and walk out, she everything got done. She asked me, she said, "Do you have something you want to say?" And I stood up and I said, I don't really want to discuss this here, but I'm basically going to say this like God said to the woman that supposedly slept with the man, and everybody was accusing her of being a whore. And he said, "Let not the first one that sinned cast the first stone." Nobody throw the stone. I literally gave I bought it up pieces of the paper and give to just handed them to people, and I said, "Hey," and then when I left, they later found out why I left. And he does not preach at the church no more. He did end up leaving. He left on his own terms because they said that he had got to where there was a guy in there that went through drug rehab. He relapsed, went back through drug rehab, got back out, relapsed again, went back to drug rehab. They said this preacher literally called him out and said that if you can't quit, if you can't say no to the drugs, what's the use of wasting the time to go to rehab? And they said that guy literally got up and walked out the church. I mean,
Yeah, I
Wow,
mean,
that's messed up.
man, that's like every day I struggle with the same. I'm going to be tempted by the things that used to get me, you know, and
yeah.
and if I'm just having a bad day, or if I'm going through, sometimes it's I'm dealing with something that's happening in my family, and I'm just depressed, and all of a sudden I'm a little weaker against the temptations that because they're sitting here saying, "Hey, I'm going to comfort you," and like like there's
I
times
make
where
you
I'm
forget
not,
about it. Yeah. You'll
but it
forget
like
about it. You'll forget
right,
it.
exactly. But it's like we we're in a sanctification process. It's a lifelong process, and the things that are going to tempt us are going to come back sometimes. Like that, Satan
Yes.
knows when we're weak. That's when he's a coward, kind of like he waits till we're weak and then he attacks.
And the
So
closer, I've learned the closer to God you get, the more
yeah,
he's going to beat
he's
on
gonna
that
tempt you
door.
too. Because
Yeah.
he doesn't want you to be a witness to others. He doesn't want you to have an
Yeah.
impact in the kingdom. So like if you're sitting up there in a pulpit and you're acting like you don't have temptations and that you never fall to sin and that you don't constantly fall to sin, every man falls to sin. They'll do it their entire lives. The difference is this: it's, are we like King David, who said, "I will not hide my sin from thee, Lord," and he said that he wouldn't let his eyes look upon evil, and he always confesses sin. he was always a sinner. He had great sins, but God still called him a man after his heart. It's not because David was a man like God. It's because David was a man that chased after God's heart. So I could
Mhm.
be a sinner all this time, and as long as I'm still chasing God, I'm still remaining faithful as best as I can, and I'm persevering until the end, I'm going to be saved. No man can take that from me.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it's just wild. I can't. It's hard to see that brothers in Christ are treating other people like that.
Oh,
Mhm.
so look, here's a story for you. So I used to be in a class called Momentum, and there's one of my friends. His name is Brother Lauren Robinson. He used to be the Clark, which we're in Clark County. So he used to be the Clark Baptist Associational director, and the Clark Baptist Association is just maybe 5 minutes down the road from me at the other end of town. And he was the director, and he was in charge of all these, overseeing all these churches in the county and making sure that they thrive and do good. Well, he left a few years ago, and the Momentum class got canceled. I loved it, but it was awesome. And anyways, he told us one night that all these churches on the back roads going towards Coffeyville. He said, "Man, you wouldn't believe how many churches." I think he said it was like seven, either seven, somewhere between 7 and 12 churches on that one stretch of road between the back roads going towards Coffeyville or whatever. And he said you wouldn't believe how many of those were either closed or had maybe one or two members. And well, one of the churches, there's a guy, I'm not gonna mention the name, but there's a guy who used to coon hunt with us all the time. Super awesome guy, and his dad was a pastor. I don't know if he still is, of a church out in the middle of nowhere. Out, trying to think of the name of the area, but anyways, like one of these country churches out in the middle of nowhere. Well, they had a revival one weekend, and this guy is such a strange guy that when they had the revival, they had a young preacher come in there to preach, and because that young man didn't wear a tie, he berated that young man, and that young man left and never come back. Like he went off on him pretty much. Just, well, you ain't got a tie. Well, you need to have a tie if you're gonna be preaching here and so and so. And he basically said no and left. And that's sad that another preacher tell another preacher that. And I guarantee you, it's one of those churches with less than 40 members, and I wouldn't be surprised if that church was shut down right now.
Right. Yeah, that's a sick church.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Unfortunately, they fall short and need grace too. So.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, Joseph, I am sorry that you got treated like that. I know you probably come to terms with it, but just
Yeah.
hearing somebody tell you, man, that ain't right, and
We're sorry he was misrepresented like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
Look,
the church I go to now, when we left that day, we had her grandkids, so we carried the grandkids back to the mother, and she said, she's never really been like a church going person. Here I am. I've been going to this church for the longest. I'm a member. I'm actually the maintenance person at this church. I would fix stuff, and that which the church family, my old church family, has tried to get me to come back. He don't go there no more. They hate the fact that they didn't get it didn't get discussed with them before I got called in there and told that. And we was on the way to carry the grandkids, and she says, I really hate that. She said, I like that church. She said, I like the people was very, very friendly. She said, and I don't really go to church. She said, but I'm kind of wanting to go to church now. And she says, what do we do? And Roy Smith, Mr. Jared, you know Mr. Roy, you know Roy Smith. Well, he
I think
preaches
so.
at a church, and I kind of I grew up around him, and I kind of thought to myself, and I said, well, I'm going. I want to call Mr. Roy and ask him his take on this. So I
Mhm.
texted him, and I told him, I said, whenever you could, give me a call. And I mean, I hadn't even just laid the phone into the cup holder because I was driving, and it was ringing. She said, I don't know this number. It's not programmed. I said, well, answer it. It might be Mr. Roy. So she answered it, and it was Mr. Roy. He said, man, he said, I just got done and walked out church. He said, and I got your text. He said, what's going on? And she kind of explained, what happened between me and my friend, and then explained what happened that day to him. And she said, me and him are not together, but we do kind of go here and there to a store. We don't go on we ain't been on no dates. But if I need to go to the store and he's there, he'll ride to the store with me, or I'll ride to the store with him. But what he just went through being accused of, and I'm wanting to get back into church. He goes to church, but we
Mhm.
don't know what to do now.
Right.
And he said, well, easy. He said, I could tell you what to do. And she said, what's that? And he said, you can be at our church next Sunday. She said, well, is that would that be fine? If we show up together and we sit side by side, but not like boyfriend and girlfriend or couple, just sit on the same, sit together on the same pew. Is everybody gonna look at us because we're not married? And even though he is divorced, legally divorced by a judge now, are they going to accuse him of being an adulterer? And yeah, he said no. He said if you when you come to our church, you look on our door. There's two signs that says "Sinners Welcome." He
Yeah.
said if a sinner can't go to church, what's the
How
use
can
of the
they be
church?
saved?
That's
Right.
right. Yep.
I think
Yeah,
that
it
that's
says.
I think that that's beautiful in your story that you basically had to go to church anyways, even though you were hurt. You had to. If it wasn't the same church that hurt you, but like you just had to find
Yeah,
believers that like walked it out and cared enough to help you bandage your wounds. And
yeah.
like I think
Most
that
people would cut it straight out. Like I know so many people who won't darken the doors of a church simply because it's all about this church hurt stuff. But the thing is, they're getting wrapped up in people. Like the thing
yeah,
is, if you're going to church for people, of course we need to have the focus on people while we're at church. But if we're going to church and we're basing like what we think of that based on broken people, then we aren't keeping our focus on the perfect Christ that is the Lord of that church. You
I
know?
think just sometimes you get caught up in the hurt, and
Yeah,
because I'm hurt, and because like because Jesus did most of his miracles outside of the church.
yeah.
I'm just not gonna try to fit in,
No, I
and
got you. Yeah,
and
one,
and
one
and,
of the
and
things
I'm
is
not.
you can.
I'm just saying that out of general, like that was my attitude for the
Yeah,
longest time was like, look, I'm not checking away from Jesus, but like this church thing, like
yeah,
it's not. And the thing is like, in order to make the church what it's supposed to, it takes you dropping your offenses and helping someone
yeah,
else
yeah,
overcome theirs. And I think,
yeah. You got
I
to get
think that
back in there.
right, and then that's just what I've learned from my own personal
Yeah,
experience. Is like even I started a music ministry, and people felt that because like God called me as a plug when he called me, and he was cleaning me up. The church just wasn't patient enough for him to clean me up in the
yeah,
process. And I think like the good thing is God never gave up on us when those church people did, but
Right.
sometimes it's like, those church people need loved on because God didn't give up on them either. And
Yeah, and they're in a
that's
process too. If they really do truly love the Lord, he's gonna convict their hearts. Why did I treat that man like I
right.
did?
It'll end up being
And they
like
might
the
come back and apologize.
conversation he had with his brother early on, where it's
Yeah,
like, you know what? God's grace is bigger. Let's just, because at the end of the day, like I have beef with someone that's refused to speak to me. I've reached out multiple times and they've refused every time. And I've just given it to God, but it's like, I think at the end of the day I've realized it's like if I don't give that dude God's grace, like I'm not gonna get the grace I need either. So
yeah,
and I think
Yeah.
that was another point that Joseph brought up earlier too. So just probably wrap up the highlights. So
yeah.
Yeah. Well, y'all,
it's,
Well,
I,
it's
it's
been
been
a really good
a
show.
real good show.
This
Yeah.
goes in my top five list of favorite shows. So,
Yeah, this
Yeah.
was a good talk.
cause
And
look,
I
I'm
hope,
looking at this ticker says 3 hours and 46 minutes.
yeah.
Wow,
Dang, bro. I
yeah.
probably jumped in at what, 2 hours ago?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
something like
jumped
that.
in an hour ago, so
So
Yeah.
And
shout
I
out
got, I,
hashtag God.
I got to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. My
Oh,
battery on my
dang, man.
phone's dead. My
Yeah.
battery on the
Well,
yeah.
computer's dead, but it
hope,
was all
hopefully,
worth.
Oh,
hopefully this
look, Erica says,
revitalized you, man.
oh,
Like getting together with brothers, like and talking over things
Oh
and
man,
getting some encouragement. You'll
yes
you'll
so
be
sir,
look,
up and awake tomorrow morning. You're not gonna be
oh,
too
yes sir.
caught up about it, right?
No,
Erica says, I wish I could go back to church. I don't go to church
Yeah.
anymore because I work every Sunday. Man, I feel you because I used to have to work on Sundays years ago, long time ago, and I
Yeah.
hated it.
Oh
I
yeah.
hated
Or
missing church.
find one
no,
that does like a Wednesday night Bible study, or like
Yeah.
I know for me, like I'm starting a Friday night cookout, cornhole and horseshoes, and I'm gonna smoke some food, and then we'll study the
S-
Bible around here.
Smoked
So
deer sausage.
Yeah.
I worked at this one place, and I told the man, I said, look, I said I go to church on Sundays, and that was a day that I was supposed to work. I said, you're gonna have to find somebody else, and
That's their constitutional right too. Like
yeah,
they give everybody else. Like if you do Ramadan or if you do
yeah,
like mass or whatever, they give everybody else it. So why don't Christians get to have church on
yes sir.
Sundays? So
Well,
you're allowed
Amen.
to advocate for yourself because that's the
yeah.
law.
Well, my boss man, he actually told me. He said, he was sitting there and he told me. He said, "Well, I guess I got to hire somebody else." And the guy said, "Why you got to hire somebody else?"
That might be
He
the
said,
hardest worker
"Because
you have. Just give me my
he
Sundays.
said, yeah, he said, if I was to say no, you can't, he could take me to court." And he said, "Why? How can he take you to court?" He said, "Because that's a religion." He said,
Hmm.
he could take you to court and say, "Hey, I refuse to give him Sundays off," and he goes to church.
we
And I was
will
like,
definitely pray for your niece,
Yeah,
"Yes,
just
Yep.
saw that.
and I'll be praying. Robin, their grandmother died as well, so
Hmm.
Yeah.
we'll be praying for them as well. So.
So, do any of y'all want to end the show with a prayer?
Yeah, I can.
yeah,
Okay.
Father God, Lord, thank you for this day. Lord, thank you for this show, and God, for Jared, and God, Lord, I just pray that you would just help us give grace to the church from where it's hurt us, and help us make the church a better place. And Lord, thank you for the testimonies that were spoken, and just the beautiful conversation that was had. And Lord, help the viewers grow closer to you. and to be able to pick up their Bible and you speak to them personally. And in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. And we still got 4 people watching. I can't believe it. I don't know who the other 3 people are watching.
It's us 4, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, virtual high five for all y'all 4.
Hey, wait. Now, Mr. Jared, I am going to say one of them probably was me because my phone was on over there. So.
Hey, that's okay. It boosts the views up. So
I'll see y'all later.
All
right,
y'all.
later, kids.
Nice to meet you,
Good
Joe.
show, y'all.
Peace, love, chicken grease.
All right. Nice meeting you.